Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back for round 5 for the VWSC Virtual World Sports Car Championship 2025. We kick off with 100 minutes of Qatar. That is going to be the race for this evening as well. Let's have a quick look at the schedule. And you can see it's the 4.8 hours of Le Mans on the 7th of June, the long one. Coming up as well, and we go off to 60 laps of the Glen, 90 minutes of Sao Paulo, 90 minutes of Qatar on the 30th of August, 100 laps of Indy, 90 minutes of Fuji, 100 laps of Road Atlanta, and then we finish off with the 2 hours of Bahrain. Let's have a look at the track. It's the LaSalle circuit in Qatar, 5.42 kilometers, 3.37 miles. Built in 2024. 16 corners for these guys to contend with. I can safely tell you it has been through at least 5 different configurations. Changes, should we say. Not configurations, because the configuration is the same. Let's have a look at the keys to today's race. Know the track. Probably best you don't try and download the track just before practice if you've not gone and practiced. Just putting it out there. Caution in the braking zones and stay off the sand. You can see it on the right hand side there of your screen. Ready to go. No building sand castles. Let's have a look at the strategy corner for the hypercars. Well, it's tyres, medium hard. Caution around the GTs. Get alongside before braking zones. Absolutely. Fuel 2 times the limit, 20 to 25 minutes, and it's going to be 3 stops. Cars to beat. V-Series 9X8, 963 and the 499P. Strategy corner for the GTs. Exploit the hypercar passes on rivals. What can go wrong with that? Keep tyre wear in check. It's medium tyres, 1 fuel stop, 30 to 35 minutes, 1 times fuel, 30 to 35 minutes and 2 stops. Cars to beat AMG, Vantage and the 992. Let's bring you up to date with the scores on the doors, starting with the hypercar standings first. Dan Herlock out in front on 89 points. Dan Kirby back in the Cadillac here on 85. And then you got Johnny Gutierrez on 62 with Mike Bell, Magnus Dahlgren, Troy Uyan, Timon Suvic, Michael Locke, Cameron Barker and Ben Kesby rounding out the top 10. Then on the right-hand side in the middle there, you can see everybody from 11 to 21. Smile Power Racing Cadillac V-Series leading the way on 140 with CMS Pro Red. Cadillac on 112, SKS Motorsport Toyota on 78, rounding out 3rd. And you can see you've got 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and the 8th in behind that. Hypercar AMS is going to be led by John Mayer. He's got Gordon Bank tucked in right behind him with Jerry Chen in 3rd place, and Eric Monet, Vinicius Goncalves, George Angelidis, Matthew Bice, Mike Bice, and then Benjamin Porteous Heath with Adrian Rice rounding out the top 10. Then 11 to 16 after that. Curie Mistral Porsche 963 leading the way with AM Racing Alliance Cadillac in 2nd place. And you've got Trash Panda HRC and 747 Custom Porsche there. Let's go over to the LMGT3 Pros. It's JT Tammy out in front on 108 with David Junt in second with 85. Alan Holden in third. Then we've got James Walker, William Schlitting, Jaime Selecki, Brian Van Buscombe, Bradley Sellers and Luciano Acharzo, and then 10 to 19 in the middle. Dart Fair on Thunder Racing, Aston Martin Vantage out in front on 153, BHR GSR in second, and you got Stardust third, Initial 3 Porsche and Team Rookie Monsters behind that. In the LMGT3 AMS, there's no team standings. Peter Meyer leads away with Stephen Miller in second, Alexander McQuarrie in third. Then you've got on that one, I'm not quite sure why that is different to what I've got there. I'm quite pretty sure that is different to the up-to-date LMGT3 standings. I've got it at Peter Meyer on 77, Stephen Miller on 74, McQuarrie, Gray, Pullen, Mazur, Stacey Scott, David Anderson, and Norm Graff. Not quite sure that's been updated correctly. I'm James Parfitt. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Mr. Tom Cairns and Mr. Ross Smith, as always. And, of course, we've got the bug in my ear, Mr. Paul Glover, on production. So we're going to be looking forward to that one. Let's start going around the houses first and bring in Mr. Tom Cairns. Tom, welcome in. How are you?
Hello, James. Hello to everyone. Yes, here we are for some VWSC action here in Lusail, Qatar. Home of the Formula 1 Qatar Grand Prix, home of the Qatar MotoGP, and home of the 1,812 kilometres of Qatar as part of the World Endurance Championship. Here we are today for the VWSC, and I cannot wait to get started with this one here. It should be really entertaining indeed.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute classic, I think, here this evening. I'm hoping it goes well. Well, we'll have a chat with Mr. Ross Smith and find out if it is going to go well, of course. Ross, what do we think? Are we going to get great racing, or is it all going to go wrong?
Welcome, James. Yeah, it's. I think it's going to be okay for this race. I'm sure there'll be a few thrills and spills, but drivers know this track a bit more. This is sort of the Redux version, the Redo. So they're going to have a bit more experience than maybe what they would have had on a few other tracks. Drivers obviously still coming to grips with the unique layout of this track. Obviously, as has been mentioned in places where it's designed for motorcycles and it's being adapted to by sports cars. So a few unique challenges there, particularly in the braking zones. I think that's where you're going to find a lot of the troubles coming throughout the race, is that discrepancy between the hypercars and the GTs is going to be expounded upon as they dive into the multitude of corners, which will have a lot of similarities to one another, and drivers are going to have to keep a sharp eye out, make sure they remember where they are on the track, like you said in the notes there at the beginning, and just keep their head down and stay out of trouble.
So realistically, Ross, you've got, I think we talked about it briefly in the green room as well. I think your philosophy was all the money in the world and then build a track for motorcycles. What's going to happen here with these?
Well, yes. I'm always one to be drawn to tracks that have a lot of character to them, particularly with elevation changes, some modulation in the landforms. You know, a lot of the great British and American tracks that use the geometry of the countryside, they tend to have the most character, and they're usually the most fun, particularly for the drivers to drive. So when you're out here in the desert, there's not a ton of elevation change. There is a little bit, and you'll see some of that from some of the camera angles possibly, or at least some of the onboard views. And so it helps with the drivers to kind of break things up a little bit here and there. But it is it's a tough track to get kind of that flow, that rhythm in, just because there is a lot of similarity in the way that you have some of the double apex corners, a lot of sort of dive downs into slower medium kind of speed corners that, like I said, with the braking zones, drivers are going to have to deal with that. And I think as we go throughout the race, you're going to find that those who are able to kind of stay in that flow and manage their tires the best are going to rise to the top, and those who don't are going to start having a lot of offs, and they're going to get caught in some of the gravel zones. They're going to be dropping wheels off some of the curbing, and it's really going to upset their races. So they got to stay on top of things as we go into the night.
Yeah, I did see that during practice that there was quite a few people going off here. Tom, I would predict most of the overtakes going down into turn one, into class battles, of course. But then again, we have seen previously overtakes trying to happen anywhere with Hypercar and GT3. We've seen it before at this circuit. Where do we think the main flashpoints are going to be?
Well, you think in turn one, and then you also think in turn four, if you get a good run out of turn two, going through the kink of three. We have seen it before, and I would expect to see more of that again here. So I don't expect Turn 1 to be the sole place where we see a lot of the overtaking being done at. But then again, the strategy thing could come into it. We've seen the dramas of how strategy can play out, especially if you remember in Daytona where we had some of the leaders short fuel towards the end and then running out of fuel in the last lap. We could well see a repeat of that here. You never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here as well. You never know what's going to happen. I'm more predicting that I think the run out through turn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is going to be the flashpoints for class incidents. I think if I'm trying to root my memory, which is very difficult at my age, to see obviously things that have happened before. Ross, if I remember correctly, we was here last year, correct?
Last year, yes, we did have a more simplified version of the track. We were able to get a fairly rapid conversion in place. So we at least had the layout, but it was somewhat barren in terms of a lot of the trackside objects and some of the other.
But there was a lot of battles. There was a lot of problems, wasn't there, if I remember correctly, with classes having their own little, or GT3s and LMPs having their own little ta-ta-tas on that infield section.
Well, there weren't any LMPs. You're thinking of the hypercars, but yes,
okay,
they're.
Okay, you pedantic rascal. Sorry, Ross. Between the GTPs and the GT3s.
There's hypercars in general. You have GTPs and your LMHs, LMDHs.
Oh my God, Ross Smith,
but you're right.
Absolute pedantic young man.
The multi-category interactions are definitely going to be a point of focus here. Like I said, going into the braking zones with the GT3s just have so much more braking potential because they're able to utilize that anti-lock braking system. It makes for a lot of potentialities because you have these sort of medium speed corners where the hypercars, they have enough incoming speed that they can achieve that side-by-side, but because they have to start braking sooner, it's going to create this moment where the GTs are able to clear that side-by-side before they get to that turn-in point, which is a real point of contention around the series because that's where we've seen so many incidents take place. You get that cone of danger as drivers hit that turn-in point and start pulling in. And if you don't have that side-by-side, you have to pull out. Now, where it becomes very difficult and very tricky to judge is when you have that side-by-side at the beginning of that braking segment and then it suddenly goes away, it's kind of up in interpretation as to who actually has the right to that corner at that point. And people are going to have different interpretations of that, which is going to lead to several different coming together. Hopefully they stay minimal. You know, you might lose at most a little dive plane here or there, and we don't see major incidents where cars are going off and having major damage to them.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure here last season there was a lot of carnage in between 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 and 11. I'm sure there was. I can't remember who was involved, but I'm sure there was a lot of incidents there as well. Hopefully today will be clean. Right, let's pick up on what's going on in YouTube chat. Mr. Reese, welcome in. Our pitside roving Ted Kravitz is in the chat box. Kim D as well. And of course, Mr. Smith up in the booth. There's also is there as well. We have a announcement from Mr. Smith, and it isn't he's going to take the blue pill or the red pill. It isn't that one. Let's have a chat and see what this is about. Ross, tell us, because I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, you don't? Oh, I thought maybe we didn't talk about it before. I apologize if that's the case, but yeah. Big exciting news from Storm Gang Simulation today. Obviously, we've been putting a lot of work into all of the mods that we have going right now, but not to let our fans down and those who've been committed to helping us out or just kind of sticking along and seeing what progress is happening within our development side. But if you recall last year, we had the historic series running the 1964 mod, and starting today, that mod is now available to the public. It is out in the Steam Workshop for R Factor 2, so anyone can go in there, download it, grab it, favorite it, give us some feedback, let us know, what you like, what you don't like, if there are any things that you see in there that you'd like changed or added, or just general feedback. We'd love to hear it, and we really hope you guys, all of our fans or non-fans, anybody new who doesn't know who we are, go in there, check it out, and enjoy.
Well, there you go. What more could you ask for? free stuff. Woo! Go and get it. You know what I mean? That's the way to
100%
do it.
free.
100% free. Go and use it. Go and have some fun in it. Go and do some series with it. Whatever it is. The only obligation is you have to contact us for broadcasting. Hey, what more can I ask for? Let's bring Tom back into the booth after me and you have had a nice little chin wag here as well. Tom, we've got 11 minutes of warm up at this moment in time. What do you think, in seriousness here at this circuit with multi-class racing, in hindsight, what do you think is actually going to happen? Do you think we're going to have mixed class incidents? Do you think it's going to be mainly single class? What do you think on this one, Tom?
It's hard to say because there's going to be a lot of drivers just navigating their way around cars from other classes, really. I mean, we saw it in Mugello where I think even someone had a blowout before the last corner, and then the car behind them, who happened to be the leader of them all, just couldn't avoid it. But with this track of Losail being wider than what we had in Mugello, I don't actually think there'll be too many incidents unless we see some last gasp dives or whatever, or dive bombing or whatever you want to call them. I just think there's a lot of space around the circuit where those trying to be overtaken or about to be overtaken by others will try to be very clever and cut back. I expect to see a lot of battles all the way through, and whether or not cars from or slower cars from other classes end up getting away, that is anyone's guess.
Okay, well, we've got some of the normal drivers back in the cars here as well. Dan Kirby back in that Cadillac, of course, as well. If anybody hasn't watched NARS from Thursday night, you should go and watch it at the new Detroit circuit as well. Dan Kirby actually took part in a GT3 and finished 4th overall. We started off with 17, we finished with 11, and it was all a little bit chaotic. But if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. Me and Ross, we had a great time doing NARS on Thursday, didn't we, Ross? Lots of things to talk about.
Yeah, there was a ton going on there. And even though it was a smaller field, and certainly this one's a bit more blown up, and which is great since there's quite a bit more track to deal with, it's going to be exciting too. I mean, we're going to have quite a bit going on here with some of these drivers at the top. There's obviously a lot of buildup in the throwdown between the team's championship, CMS Pro Red and Smile Power Racing, both juggernauts with really powerful drivers on both rosters. And there's already been a lot of controversy starting from Daytona, where there's obviously the 1-2 finish with Mike Bell and Daniel Herlock just barely nipping the win from him with, I think it was 100th of a second, somewhere around there, 200ths of a second. And we're going to see, there's obviously quite a few incidents happening there where there were some penalties instituted, and it kind of changed things around. There have been a couple IRRs from then on. There are going to be some serving today from the race that we had at Spa. So the team championship is definitely very much in full swing there, and keep an eye out for some of the other ones. CMS Pro Blue, Crown Dental Group, they're not out of it. They're all here to really make up some serious points, and I'd love to see what happens with that GRO 10, because from what I understand, there's been a little bit of work on it, and they've got a good shot at being able to show some muscle here. I've seen from Benjamin Porteous Heath, he's running down in the EM class. He's put some work in, and right now he's sitting pretty high up there in terms of his positioning. I think we're going to finally see that Toyota prevailing in today's race.
Yeah, I can give you a rough idea of what penalties we have got outstanding at the moment here. So we've got Mr. Mitchell has got himself a penalty, stop and hold for 10 plus seconds. Robert Molin, I believe, has got a stop and hold for 20. It's two IRRs, a drive-through and a drive-through. Luciano and a Chazo, stop and hold for 20 as well, drive-through plus drive-through. Antonis Paparanopoulos has got himself a drive-through. George Angelidis has got a drive-through and a drive-through. David Junt has got a stop-go. Alexander Serima has got a drive-through for Mike Bell. Gordon Banks got a drive-through. Ben Kesby's got a drive-through. Carl Struel's got no qualifying and a warning for using off-track area to pass lapped cars as well. Matthew Bice, no qualifying. Brian Van Bosken's got a drive-through. Sean Kelly got a warning for unsafe rejoin resulting in minor impediment. And pending from the previous round is Whitworth de Bruin, who's also got a stop-go. So basically, half of the field are going to be in the pits at some point here as well. So that's going to be very interesting. So we think Ben Kesby's got to stop on the hole. Actually, he's stop and hold for 20 plus a drive-through. So There you go for Ben. Yeah, Ben Kesby is been a bit naughty, but it does say stop and hold for 20 plus a drive through plus a drive through. So whether or not that's 2 drive throughs and a stop and hold, or that's drive through and a drive through plus equals a 20. Ross, help me out.
That's correct. Yeah, no, you got it right there. So it's basically just the steward's way of showing that that is the final penalty that they have to serve. It's a combination version of all of the other penalties that they'd received from the previous race.
Yeah, we will be able to bring you up the grid after the warm-up is finished anyway, once they get on to the start on the line. Oh, we can now. Dan Kirby out in first with Dan Erlock in second. Then Cameron Barker and Ben Kesby rounding out the top 3. Of course, Ben's got a penalty incoming. That's 1 to 4. Then behind that is Mike Bell, Robert Molin, Magnus Dahlgren rounding out the 7. John Uyan taking the 8th place. Moving on from that one into 9th is Michael Locke there in that Peugeot 9X8. Troy Uyan in the Cadillac. Timon Suvic in the Toyota with Adrian Rice in the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Johnny Gutierrez is in 13th, and Antonis Paparanopoulos in 14th. Then Benjamin Porteous-Heath in 15th, with Jerry Chen in 16th. That's the Hypercar AMSA. George Angelidis down in 17th, with Sean Kelly 18th. Eric Monet is in 19th. Vinicius Concalves rounds out the top 20. Moving on into 21st is Gwilym Bank and Gilles Lalonde in the 9X8 and Caddy. Then we go into the LMGT3's JT Tammy leading the way with Alan Holden there once again in 23rd and 24th. Luciano Acharzo and David Junt rounds out 25th and 26th with Brian Van Boscombe. Penalty incoming. Ryan Paulbert Reyes is in 28th place. Alexander McQuarrie leads the way in the AMS with Matthew Overton in 30th and Stephen Miller in 31st and James Walker in 32nd place. Good mix on the cars there. It's going to be a great one. Peter Meyer in 33rd and Adam Gray in 34th. Max Sumthenlap in 35th and Matthew Bice at the back in 36th. He will be allowed, I'm sure, to take his position. And then a Storm Gang Simulation BMW M4. M4? Is that M8? Oh my God, I can't even read that. It's a little bit blurry. M4 Evo GT3. Not sure who that is. Ross, any idea on who the Storm Gang Simulation man is?
Well, that's me. It's actually addressing a small glitch that we found. Not sure what happened, but there was a particular garage spot that was causing some cars to get stuck when they were starting in there. So basically, just joined in so that way that car can occupy that spot and keep anyone from getting stuck inadvertently, so they'd be caught out in qualifying or anywhere else. So yeah, it's ignore that. Nothing to see here. You know, we're just moving along.
Nobody to see there apart from Mr. Smith, who's going to take to the zing there. So there we go. Should be a fun one. Starting in the night here, Tom. If there's ever a kick in the teeth, we've got practice and qualified daytime, and now we chuck them in the night. This is going to be exciting.
Exciting indeed. Under the lights here in Losail, and we are very much looking forward to this one. It is 100 minutes long. This event, so it should whiz by quite quickly. Given that all the pit stops that are set to happen during the course of the race, of course, there's different strategies for different classes. I think we're in for a fun one, James. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the cars are getting onto the grid. We will show you that very, very shortly. Dan Kirby sitting on pole with Dan Herlock in second place alongside him. Behind that is Cameron Barker, Ben Kesby, Mike Bell and Robert Molin. Don't forget penalties incoming for some of these drivers, so hold on, we have going to have a side-by-side pace lap there, so bear with while these guys trundle around and do this pace lap before we can get these going up and running. It's going to be an interesting one, and it's going to be exciting, I'm sure. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages. Get your drinks, grab your popcorn, because you're not going to want to miss any of this. Ross, what are you thinking about while you're on the pace lap, bud?
Well, I'm kind of curious to see actually what's going to be happening with some of these cars. So coming out of the last race at Spa, there were a couple adjustments to a few of the cars. So the Cadillac has actually received a little bit more restrictions in the aero. So it should be a little bit slower. That might only affect it more on sort of the longer straights, so we'll see about that. And the Aston Martin, the GT3, the Vantage, has also gained some weight. So it's up 10 kilos, probably not a ton, but because this is sort of a high tire wear track, that could have an effect as the stints go on. So keep an eye out on both of those situations as the race develops.
Right, okay, we'll keep an eye out on this one. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a few people diving in for penalties as well. Ben Kesby's got one, Carl Struhl's got a couple, Mike Bell, Serema, Yun Angelidis, Paparanopoulos. Of course, if they're all here, they will serve their penalties. So we'll see who's going to dive in and keep an eye on them. If they're not here, well, they won't be able to serve it until the next race they do turn up. Oh, of course, but it depends if they disagree with the penalties, and they may not never turn up again. So who knows? But then again, if you disagree with a penalty, don't be a naughty boy and get yourself in the penalty box or in the eye of the stewards. That's what I say to that one. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a fun one. You see the GT3s down in the bottom right-hand corner, Hypercars on the main screen in the middle. Before we can get this going here, Dan Kirby on his way around that long sweeping right-hander at the moment, going all the way from 12, 13, 14, a continuous turn that basically doesn't let off whatsoever. Then in behind that they'll go into 14, left down at a 15, and then we're going to be into turn 16 for the final run here as well. Tom, really quickly, Hypercar Pro winner, go for it.
Ooh, good question. It's difficult to say. Difficult to say. I think Dan Kirby will be able to hold on.
Ross, GT3 Pro winner.
GT3 Pro, I'd say my money's probably on JT Tammy. He's got a pretty good strong pace going through, so that's where my money is.
All right, I'm going to go with Porteous Heath for Hypercar AMS. Just why not? So there we go. I'm going to go with that one. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone around the final corner here. The Hypercars are lined up 2 by 2. It's Noah's Ark. Dan Kirby on the right-hand side, Herlock on the inside, Kesby, Barker, Molin, Bell. We are going to be going green. You can see the lights have turned green. We're going to be going over the line very, very shortly. Once more, we are up and running and we are racing. Round 5 of the VWSC is green, green, green. Dan Kirby takes it down into turn 1. He's still holding on to the lead. Dan Herlock sitting in second place, almost running alongside him into turn 3 here. Kirby's got the run at the moment. GT3's down in the bottom. They're having their own little battle. It's JT Tammy leading the way over Alan Holden. He's taking the whole shot. Luciano Acciazzo tucked in right behind him at the moment, but everybody's got away cleanly. A little bit from Timon Suvic at the back there is going to be interesting for me with Gilles Lalonde coming through. I am surprised he did not take his spot, Ross, behind the Hypercars. Is that a rule that he's not allowed to take his spot behind the Hypercars? Because at the moment he's got all the GT3s in front of him.
Well, that's only the case if you end up going off on the pace lap for some reason and you're not able to safely rejoin. So he might have just opted to avoid that because of safety reasons at the start, but otherwise, yeah, there's no obligation to stay at the back, pull right up to the back of your category.
Yeah, well, he wasn't. He qualified in last place. He was on the grid in the final spot. I would have thought he would have gone up behind the Hypercars to basically be able to join on to the queue, but he didn't. I don't know if he's going to put himself on a last to first challenge in that 9X8. On your screen in a moment is Mr. Kirby. Herlock's not giving up here. They are continuing to fight this out. Through the left-hander they go. Dan Kirby, Dan Herlock, and Ben Kesby. Don't forget, Kesby has got a penalty, okay? He's got to stop and hold for 20 seconds here for being naughty. Lap 1 coming to an end. Kirby takes the whole shot. Dan Herlock gets second place. Kesby still out on the racetrack. We've got a replay coming up here as well. It'd be great if we could let us know in this one. Somebody is going to go off the side of the circuit here. That's Simon Suvic going round there into turn 1, hits the purple stuff. No grip out there, sunshine. And away he goes on that one for Timon Suvic. He's dropped all the way down the order in 19th, mixing it up. Tom, great start from some, not a great start from others, but Gilles Lalonde pulling out the bag at the moment, starting at the back of the GT3 field.
Yep, and they'll be making their way through. There are drivers who are due to take penalties in the near future. We're looking at Cameron Barker in the 79, running in 4th position as they come towards the hairpin of turn 6 by the looks of it, as they filter their way through. But nicely done there from the pole sitter, pulling away ahead of the fellow Cadillac there, Dan Herlock, who's giving chase. Ben Kesby in the Ferrari, not too far off them, is drifted a couple of seconds away from the 2nd place driver of Herlock. Cameron Barker doing his best to keep in touch. As far as the Hypercar AMs are concerned, Jerry Chen running in 14th position overall, just ahead of George Angelidis. Nose to tail, those two, so that could be one to look out for between the Porsche and the Acura. It is very much hotting up with GT Tammy, the leader so far in LMGT3.
Yeah, he is at the moment. I can tell you now, Sean Kelly and Eric Bonet have had side-to-side contact, and that led to the fact of Eric and Sean, both of them going off the track together. Jerry Chen, of course, and George Angelidis from different teams, Acura Mistral and the HRC US Acura team. I'm sure they're going to be battling it out. Adrian Rice leading the Hypercar AMs at the moment. They're on your screen now. Jerry in that blue and white Porsche 963. Angelidis tucked in right behind him currently in that HRC US Acura ARX06. Down into turn 1 they go. Chen's going to get away. Angelidis is going to look at making a move. Is he going to be later on the brakes? Nope, he settles in just in behind him at the moment. Does George Angelidis? Doesn't make that move whatsoever. Ross, the problem with this for George, he's going to have to defend and attack at the moment because he's got Porteous Heath putting him under a whole heap of pressure.
Yeah, like I said, Benjamin Porteous Heath has been very strong in that Toyota. I think he's going to do really well during the race. He's feeling really great about the circuit, talking to him earlier just beforehand. And George has had a rotten time getting his car set up for the track. Just feels like it doesn't do anything that he wants to, goes one way or the other. So I think this is going to be a real struggle for him. It's going to be elbows out from here pretty much till the end if he wants to be able to have a good result.
Do we not think then, Ross, that George is going to be able to succeed where he is at this moment in time? We're going to go to a quick replay here. I believe this is Sean Kelly and Monet. That you watch the side bang, there it is there, then again, and both of them end up going off and losing positions. So Eric Monet and Sean Kelly, both, in fact, if we just let that run a little bit further, you would have seen both of them do a synchronized slide. So there you go, nice little dive, you know, it's like synchronized swimming going on from Monet and Kelly. I believe we're going to have another look back at this one, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on. Watch just after this. And going to be coming up. They both do it together. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. 10 out of 10 for both of them. Whoa. However, that rejoin, that rejoin is a lot to take care of there. I believe that may have been Sean Kelly in that purple machine. It was Sean Kelly. Tom, nice little synchronized spinning. Bad rejoin from Sean Kelly.
Yeah, not very good driving standards there from Kelly. We're seeing a number of drivers head for the pit lane. Some of those from Hypercar going in. And then we look at Jerry Chen, who is not the Hypercar AM leader. It looks like he is, but it's actually Adrian Rice who's further up the road. But yeah, we are seeing the penalties being taken by some of the drivers. While we see Adrian Rice go after one of the Hypercar pros, which is not too bad to see. Those Benjamin Porteous Heath, who's under attack actually from the car behind him. That will be Vinicius Goncalves in the Peugeot 9X8 Evo, who's giving him a little bit of a fright there. So it looks like Porteous Heath has got his mirrors full of him as a yellow flag in sector 1. How quickly will that go? Looks like someone may have had a spin at turn 1 or something, James.
Yeah, there's a couple of people in pit lane serving penalties. Ben Kesby has served his penalty there. He's on his way out as well, dropping all the way down the order. Mike Bell. There's a lot of people in and around that have taken their penalties. I can tell you now. Gwilym Benk, Ben Kesby, Robert Molin, George Angelidis have all gone in as well. So they're all mixing it up in between this one. This is a battle for GT3 AM. Stephen Miller and Adam Gray got a nice shot of the back stadium there. But Miller and Gray battling it out here as well. McLaren 720, Reptile Racing, Porsche 911 continuing to fight here. Will this track, Ross, going into the Porsche, knowing that the Porsche can do unpredictable things whenever it feels like it really wants to, does this circuit suit the Porsche?
think it does. We've gotten a lot of feedback actually from Paul Ebitz, who typically runs on NARS for Thursday, and his teammate as well. And they've both been able to really show that the stability of that 992 has really come a long way. Now, it still can do evil things to you if you're not paying attention. It's definitely a car that you need to set up properly and make sure that it stays balanced throughout the run. And it will slap you. It'll get the rear definitely fishtailing as that balance changes. But it's a very strong, very good car if you know how to handle it.
Yeah, we've got a couple of off tracks from Vinicius Concalves has been off the circuit. I don't think he's done anything dramatic. I think he's just run wide and it's picked him up that they have done something dramatic. Concalves has not done anything dramatic. And I can tell you now, Stephen Miller did exactly the same thing, coming in through through the final 13, 14 and 15, just ran a little bit wide. So no dramas back there. Both men just got back onto the track and carried on. And guess what? Neither of them lost a position. So great fighting from Stephen Miller here. He's trying to get onto the back of Alexander McQuarrie. Angelidis is recovering from his penalty. Of course, he's one of the guys that has taken a penalty. He's gone and taken that and come out in front. Robert Molin in the mix. The interesting thing is Ben Kesby is also mixed with the GT3s at the moment. He's just going to clear JT Tammy for positions. Kesby does move himself up into 21st. Next up being Mike Bell, Jerry Chen, Benjamin Portier-Seif dropped back to 1.2 seconds at the moment. You can see on the bottom right hand corner that's the nose of Benjamin Portier-Seif chasing down Jerry Chen, looking very quick indeed here. Some of these guys, Tom, have done an incredible job at the moment. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting thing because we're going to have some of the faster guys like Paparanopoulos, like Angelidis, like Benk, like Molin, like Kesby, all coming through the field after serving the penalties.
Yep, we were just seeing Portier-Seif just stay within the slipstream of Jerry Chen. How far is he willing to go before he has to think about making a pit stop? We looked at the strategy cards earlier, James, as to when we expect both the Hypercars and the GTs to start making pit stops. And we've just seen a yellow flag in Sector 2. Someone's had a moment that's probably just gone off track and rejoined.
Yeah, Paul Reyes. Yeah, Reyes has gone off, unfortunately. He's gone round as well. He has spun all the way round and he's sat sideways and does manage to get it back on the track. Same corner as Sean Kelly and Eric Monet. So that corner seems to be causing a little bit of a problem. Concalves and Bice, he's sitting battling away for 4th and 5th at the moment. Trash Panda Racing in the Toyota, the 9X8, of course, from Concalves. Lovely car. Shame they put the blinking wing on it, Mr. Smith. That was a bit of a poor judgment call.
Well, they did what they had to. I mean, we've talked about it before, where they basically had the rules changed from underneath them, and they really had no choice because they could no longer utilize the front wheel drive of that all-wheel drive platform coming out of the corners until over, I believe, it was 150 kilometers per hour. So it effectively killed any potentiality it had to have an advantage coming through some of the corners. So everything they designed around it, they had to do something with it. So they had to put a wing on there, change the center of pressure, and now Stellantis Group is deciding whether or not they're going to keep going with Peugeot, if they're going to just totally redesign a new car. I think the car looks great, it's unique, stands out. I'd love to see them perform a little bit better. And fortunately, in our wonderful Storm Game Simulation mod, they are performing better. They're definitely more on par with where they should be. So I think these cars are going to be really good. Johnny Gutierrez is going to be really strong. Gilles Lalonde with Bad Day Racing and his teammate further up the field there they're doing really great. So and of course Michael Locke with Crown Dental Group, they're tearing it up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I love the 9X8. I think it looks absolutely amazing, and maybe we should get the guys from the sim to drive the real life one. They might be able to show them how to actually drive it properly. That would be quite cool on that one. So if anybody, Jill Lalonde, if you have got the 9X8, go and contact Peugeot and tell them you can drive it better than the drivers they've got at the moment. That would be awesome. Timon Suvic and Johnny Gutierrez are having a nice little ding dong here at the same time. There's Benjamin Portier-Seif apparently on your screen at the moment, but it does look like we're showing Timon Suvic. There we go. And Benjamin Portier-Seif. Timon Suvic, Benjamin Portier-Seif having a fight here. So we'll keep an eye and see how these guys get on. What's the key here, Tom? What do you think the initial key to success is going to be?
Well, the success is just built to your way through the traffic, especially if you've taken a penalty. But this is the battle for the lead between the two Dans of Kirby and Herlock on the pit straight, in the lead both overall and in the pro class of Hypercar as they filter their way through turn number 1. No rush for Herlock to make his way through. Yeah, they are relying on the fuel strategies, and they'll be thinking of later in the race. 12 minutes gone in this one so far. It has flown by quite quickly, these 12 minutes, thinking of it. But it seems as though that both Kirby and Herlock are in cruise control throughout this one. There's no Eduardo Beninca, thinking of it, James. He's not around this evening from what we've seen on the grid. So this is a chance for Herlock to take the lead of the Pro Championship by the end of this evening's action.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these guys get on. They've got to make use of the opportunity that's been given to them. And for Herlock, he's got to try and extend that gap. He's got to beat Kirby at the moment. If he doesn't beat Kirby, he is going to be in trouble. Now, generally for Eduardo Beninca, he's normally down in the GT3s, if I'm not mistaken there. Ross, am I, or am I not missing on this one?
Yeah, I think that's where he likes to dabble when it comes to modern machinery. He definitely seems to be more of a kind of mechanical grip kind of car base versus aero, though we've obviously seen him in the Lancia in the 1985 series where it's all aero for those cars. So he's certainly no stranger, and he's kind of like Daniel, you know, he can be fast in anything you put him in. But yeah, he's kind of just changing it up a little bit here today. So I'm sure he'll continue to perform pretty well.
Yeah, Beninca, of course, at this moment in time, I have not seen him. I have not seen him all season, to be honest, and he's not on any of the score sheets that I'm looking at. So unless obviously he's slipped in without us knowing, Eduardo Beninca is not on the score sheet. So keep an eye on and see if he does turn up in this series this season. And you see Ben Kesby on the fight at the moment with Steve there with Antonius Paparanopoulos. As they're continuing to scrap it down in basically, where are they? 18th plus, I think it is, on that one. Stephen Miller and Adam Gray still fighting out in the GT3 AMS. This is, believe it or not, 30th and 31st overall. First, second and third in there, and then tucked in behind Adam Gray at the moment is Max Sumferlap, as he's going to continue to try and close down on Gray and try and make some moves if he can. Let us know in YouTube chat who you're supporting at this moment in time, who you got your eyes on, who you think is going to win, and who you think is going to succeed in the race. Stephen Miller, Ross, I've got to be honest, reminds me of a little bit of a maverick, because you're never quite sure what you're going to get out of him. You either get Stephen Miller, who drives incredibly, or he has more roller coaster, he has more up and down to Space Mountain. You know, that's kind of where he's at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely corking the bottle right now, holding up Adam Gray behind him, and I think is that Mayer who's behind him as well. They're having a little bit of a scrap just behind, as you see some of the hypercar traffic starting to approach. I think these are
There's Jerry Chen and Timon Suvic.
Yeah. So yeah, Stephen Miller definitely is. He's kind of known by some of the drivers here. He definitely can be difficult to manage. So he's going to be a factor in this fight for sure, in both of these battles actually.
And the problem is he's got drivers in behind him who don't take a lot. Timon Suvic is in behind that. Benjamin Portier's Heath is in behind him as well. All these drivers want to get through. Concalves is coming up on the back end of this pack at the same time here, Tom. This could be the dramatic stage on this run through of traffic here, especially when they're grouped together like this.
Yeah, we've just seen Sean Kelly in 6th place after that spin he had earlier on over at turn, I think it was turn 10 or something like that, where he had that synchronized spin with Eric Monet. They are going through that particular corner they just went through now. That's the same corner as where they had that spin. Yep, they refused to leave each other alone, do Kelly and Monet, so let's see if they can keep it clean this time around. Although they didn't actually make contact with each other, but we want to see them fighting it out without any drama. But so far so good. It's a relatively clean start to this one, James, through all of the field, bearing in mind that some pitting in for their penalties during the course of this one. So it'll be interesting to see how those that have taken penalties are going to be able to recover. Looking at the GT class and LMGT3, this is the battle for 3rd place in that respective category between Matthew Overton and Ryan Pelbert Reyes. So between Overton Reyes in the 174 and the 12. This is a nice battle to watch as they come through the hairpin there before they get to the chicane of turn 8 and 9.
Yeah, this is for third and fourth in the GT3 Pro class. There's going to be battling for the podium. The problem is the likes of who they've got behind them are Mr. Timur Suvic and Jerry Chen there come behind as well. We've swapped over to Mike Bell and Ben Kesby, the battle for 10th and 11th. Now as well, continuing on your screen here currently. These guys can fight it out as we've got a replay coming up here.
This is what
Yeah, I believe that's Paulbert Reyes from earlier on. You can see he goes around the same corner as Kelly and Monet and just spins it up on this one.
Yeah, James, that's what you're kind of talking about with the portion things, having portion. You can see with that kind of lazy rollout, it's a little bit early, I feel like, for that kind of transition switch because we haven't been too far into the race where they really see too much of that weight transfer. But if he's been lighting up those rears, it certainly can do it.
Yeah, Gilles Lalonde has went round. He went heading into the gravel. Max Somfenlap looks like he's gone and done some dramas in that Porsche. It did look like the same thing. Alan Holden had a moment coming down into turn 1. So Gilles Lalonde was turn 1, Alan Holden was turn 1 here again. Here is Gilles Lalonde. You're just going to see him completely miss the braking zone. Carries on just about, keeps it going out of there, goes back onto the exit road, and away he goes. This in behind him is Max Somfenlap. Watch the back end of that Porsche just decide that, nope, don't like it back here, and it wants to come and join him on the front. And then you're going to have a look, hopefully at Alan Holden, who goes and does the same thing, and around he goes there into turn 1 as well. Turn 1 causing a bit of an issue here, Tom, as well. Is that the because it's such a fast turn 1, do we think, Tom, or just because they're missing their braking points?
It's missing their braking points, and you mentioned about staying off the sand. It feels like they're catching the sand. I saw someone go for a spin on the exit turf. Stephen Miller going round. He was one of the leaders as well in LMGT3, and we'll get a replay. We saw him go sort of 90-degree spin, I think it was, but we'll see.
It was a little bit of margy-bargy with Ben Kesby. He then comes back onto the track, carries far too much speed, and unfortunately for him, he's on his lights here, not completely happy. Then Gray goes round as well.
Oh. It was Gray that went down. That was run into by Stephen Miller, so we'll see what the stewards say on that. They can give out penalties during the race to the stewards, so we could well see a notification of what their conclusion to that incident will be. Here is Mike Bell and Ben Kesby, who are coming towards the last corner now before they enter the pit straight. It's a very modern racetrack when you look at it here. It kind of gives vibes of Bahrain, does the Losail circuit in Qatar, as they sprint their way down to begin another lap. 20 minutes gone in this 100 minutes of Qatar.
Yeah, we're going to have a continual fight here. Mike Bell, Ben Kesby, we're going to go jump to a replay now. This is Max Somfenlap. He just basically watch the back end of the Porsche in turn number 1. It's going to not like it where it is as well. He's heated up the tyres from earlier of a Max Somfenlap, and around he goes on that one. That, Ross, I would probably say hot tyres.
Yeah, at this point, they're definitely too much pushing, too much sliding. And obviously, we saw some of the errors before. Unfortunately, have to retract my previous statement regarding the Porsche being more settled, but only partially, because it really does come down to how much you manage the tires and maintain the car, because and it's really true of all of them. You saw it with Alan Holden, as he had a little bit of a spin earlier. Anytime that you really start to put too much pressure on the rears and really start to heat them up, if that's how you have the car set, it's any of these cars can quickly go around. I think the Aston Martin and probably the AMG, both of those cars are going to be the ones that have it a little bit easier. It's they've got a little bit more room in the setup, and certainly with the drivers that are running them, they tend to be a little bit more neutral with their setup. So I think that they're going to probably have the most balance and able to maintain that tire temperature differential between front and rear.
You know, the interesting thing for me as well currently at the moment is Max Somfenlap and Gilles Lalonde have had very, very heated tyres at the moment. The thing at the moment as well is basically Gilles Lalonde just nearly had an off track, and he had an off track and he nearly took out Max Umferlap. So both men who have had problems with Porsches and 9X8s respectively nearly ended up coming together. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. If you carry on, I think this is going to be the replay of what I've just said about, literally just about there. If you get that from the driver's point of view and in the cockpit of Gilles Lalonde and slow that down, you'll realise how close that actually was to Gilles Lalonde completely torpedoing poor old Max Umferlap, because it was not good. He was not very far away whatsoever. He carried far too much speed. 1 hour 17 to go. Kirby out in front with Herlock. This is the replay we were talking about here as well. Just behind. Watch this. He just literally barely misses him as he comes in here. Both men have run exactly the same line. He's coming back on track, and literally, it was literally a hair between them there, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to put in between the two cars there, where you want to put a hair or a 30 centimeter ruler or something like that. I don't know, but either way, we've got someone in the pits. Then this must be a strategic pit stop. That's from one of the Uyans who's in the pits. It's John, isn't it? Yeah, so he's in the pits now. Yeah, we're just seeing Kirby and Herlock in their own battle now. This is the closest we've been involving them since the race has started, and it won't be too long before we start seeing pit stops from the pair of them.
Yeah, it looks like Sean Kelly's had another little bit of a drama, but Herlock and Kirby literally nose to tail at the moment. Kirby in front has got David Junt. He's going to try and go through. What about Herlock? He can't get through. He's going to have to wait. He does have to wait.
Oh,
Poor Herlock here. Very
Chen.
close indeed. And Jerry Chen, unfortunately, off the side of the circuit.
Well, that looked really bizarre, didn't it? As he flashes his headlights there just to make people aware of his presence, or whether that was just a sign of frustration from Jerry Chen. They're coming through the last corner then are the two leaders of Hypercar Pro entering the last corner now. Well, the leader carries on. Herlock comes into the pits.
Yeah, Dan Herlock in pit lane at the moment. Kirby carries on. He's got the GT3s in front of him here. And yeah, it looks like we've had poor old Sean Kelly have a little bit of another drama for him. Kirby on the lights. Here is the replay of Sean Kelly. Ooh, just runs off, and then he's... Ross, that's one of the things I don't quite get there. There's no reason, sure. Oh. Well, that's his second one.
Yeah, the leaders.
That's clumsy. That's really clumsy from Sean Kelly. You know, with the way he's rejoined there, that was completely avoidable.
That was his second rejoin.
Yeah, and Tom, you're right. This isn't the first time that we've actually seen some issues with Sean Kelly and his teammate Carl Struhal. If you recall at Spa, they definitely had their fair share of incidents where they were having rejoin issues, where they were generally kind of struggling with control of the car in a few different spots. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that stewards reviewing this after the race are gonna have sort of an unkind view of the way this is progressing.
It's certainly going to be far from harmonious.
Yeah, is that just down to practice, do you reckon, Ross? Or racecraft?
I think it's probably going to be a combination of both. And as you recall, you've said earlier on in the season that this is a change for them. They used to both drivers were running GT3s, and so they're moving into that higher category. And there's quite a bit more, not just in racecraft and control, but car setup, making sure that you have a very stable platform. These hypercars are very complex pieces of machinery. Even though we don't have the full like brake mitigation and highway control within rFactor 2, there's still a ton of complexity in the way that you have to set up your springs and everything else. So I think that is a combination of, you know, adjusting to the new platform and then maybe still trying to explore and understand the way that those mechanics work and interact and evolve over the course of a race.
Well, Dan Herlock's coming around the last couple of corners. He is going to have the left-hander to go of turn 15. Then into 16. You can see Kirby on the bottom right-hand corner still sat in pit lane. Through he goes. Kirby's now moving. How far is he going to be ahead of Herlock? He's got a trundle down. Herlock's on his way down here as well. Kirby's on his way out at the moment. Dan Herlock and Kirby are going to come out literally neck and neck, near enough here. Kirby's going to hold on to it. Dan Kirby he got 1.3 seconds, Tom, over the other Dan.
Yeah, but you see Herlock has gone, he's got warmer tyres now compared to Kirby, so he should use that to his advantage, unless Kirby can get his tyres up to temperature very, very quickly and hold him back. We've got more drivers in the pits then, in all of the hypercars, both hypercar classes. We've got Adrian Rice in the pits, we've got Conchalves in the pits, we've got Sean Kelly, who's now in the pits, Gutierrez from Hypercar Pro's in, Suvic is in. It's pit stops galore here in LaSalle.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Whoa, so I don't know if bad rejoins is selfishness, Ross. What do you reckon?
It could be a bit of both. I think it's more just awareness, just having that heads up to be able to know who's around you, and not panicking. Yeah, like Paul was saying there, they definitely have to keep their heads about them. I mean, you need, whenever you start sliding out, get on the brakes, and then once you're actually stopped and able to control yourself. Oh, it looks like Max Something Lab might have just had a spin around. I saw that on the corner of my eye here, but you just need to be able to control the car and make sure that you're predictable, if nothing else, because if you pull out in front of the track and in front of people not expecting you there, it's just going to lead to chaos and a lot of problems.
Okay, you've been a lot more diplomatic than I would have been. Okay, because
I'm here.
You know, this is the thing. I think for me, when you go off and you rejoin straight away, it's almost like you've sat in the car, you've paid no attention to a relative box whatsoever. Your urgency to get the car back on track is just absolutely insurmountable, to the point of where you're having an almost coronary in the car there as well, and you pay no attention to what's going on. You literally just hit the throttle, get it back in track. If you hit somebody else, they're off and you get to carry on. So to a degree, I do kind of agree with Rose AAA in YouTube chat. Bad rejoins is selfish, because you've not taken that minute to read anything, Ross, or understand anything, or look at anything. You've just gone, I'm going back on, that's it.
Well, yeah, and certainly every situation is going to be different. I mean, there are honest mistakes that happen. We've seen that up and down the grid. I've done that myself, where I looked and there's just a car in the blind spot, and I mean, even with the radar or any of the other fancy stuff that you might have on there, you know, you can create a problem. But if it's something that you see repeating, like we've seen on that team, it becomes more of a problem, and I think that there's going to be a larger conversation with AM Racing.
Yeah, I do agree there as well. Done or acting with excessive speed or urgency equals hurried. Maybe. I think that's the thing. I think, Tom, to a degree, Woes is right. It is selfish to do something like that as well. But we have got more experienced drivers, like we've got on our screen with Monet and Rice at the moment. They're battling away in this hypercar AM battle. We've also got Troy Uyan and Michael Locke fighting it out at the same time. Monet's still got to go in pit lane. Monet is not pitted, Rice has. So that's where the difference lies on this one. This surely is going to hand the lead back to Rice as well once Monet does pit, Tom.
Well, he's just allowed in through, Jane. So Rice is is he ahead of? I thought Rice got moved on someone for a moment. It was Jerry Chen, wasn't it? Yeah, so Rice is in second place ahead of Jerry Chen. So yeah, Rice will get back the lead once Monet completes his first pit stop. When he does that, I don't know. Well, I'd like to think it'll be at the end of this lap, because he'll be coming towards the end of his fuel gauge, I'd have thought. But we're seeing a battle involving Locke and Troy Uyan for 5th place. This is in Hypercar Pro. Uyan goes to ahead of Locke, and that was a neat overtake there by Uyan standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy Uyan gets himself up to 5th place. Michael Locke sitting in 6th at this moment in time as well. GT3s at the moment. JT Tammy still leading the way in the pros. Matthew Overton in 2nd. Alexander McQuarrie leading the GT3 AMs there. That was very close indeed. Stephen Miller and Peter Meyer are sitting in behind that. Adrian Rice leading the Hypercar AM. And then Dan Kirby leading the way in Hypercar Pro. Ryan Paulbert Reyes and Alan Holden, third and fourth. They're running side by side at the moment. Great racing here together. Paulbert Reyes clears Holden. Hypercar Am on the right-hand side there as they're continuing to fight as well. And that's Matt Bice goes past. But now Holden's going to come back at him straight into turn one at the moment. Hard on the brakes does Holden. Is he going to be able to hold that inside line in that Ferrari 290? And Paulbert Reyes in the Porsche manages to hold on. Another hypercar of Antonis Paparanopoulos coming through at the moment. He's going to go and separate this battle, Tom, which is probably not what Alan Holden wanted.
Echoing whoever it was saying that the Porsche is the quicker car around here compared to the other manufacturers, it's clearly paying off there for that Porsche going through. And it doesn't seem like the Ferrari has a good, essentially a good car compared to the other manufacturers around here. But this is the battle in GT3. This is Matthew Overton and Ryan Paulbert Reyes fighting over it. There is Overton, just keeping on tabs with the manufacturers, because that's something of interest to me personally. There is the 174 of Overton and the 12 of Reyes, just nose to tail going through the chicane, although that's one of the hypercars going round the outside there.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-second gap. So yeah, Overton and Reyes nose to tail. There is Kirby and there is Herlock. Half a second between them, intensifying their battle since the start.
Yeah, coming back out. It's been teetering in and around 7 tenths to half a second at the moment. Pedro Gomez Racing. I'm just going to say fast drivers on track. I'm not going to repeat that first part there as well. See you soon, guys, to compete again. Well, maybe on that one. Thank you so much. Dan Herbie, 1.1. We've got Ryan Paulbert Reyes with an in-game penalty. Don't forget the stewards give out penalties after the race. This is an in-game RF2 penalty that has nothing to do with the series itself here. We think it's going to be a track limit violation of some sort. There he is again, off the side of the circuit for Paulbert Reyes. Easy to do here though, Ross.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that a lot of drivers were talking about, particularly on the outside of those corners. It seems like you might be able to get a little bit away with it more on the inside if you're going through on the track. But those outside lines are very brutal, and Don Fryman, who's been working on our tracks for us, he made sure to, working in tandem with George Angelides, who oversees the series, they made sure to set those limits so that way they are appropriate. We saw in real life that they actually ended up having to put quite a bit of gravel on the outside of some of these extension points to really dissuade drivers from extending track limits, because now when you go out there, unlike what we have going on for most of the track here, you dip a wheel and it's very punishing. You don't have some lovely runoff there that you can just kind of drive away from. Unfortunately, this track does not have that latest update, but it's certainly something that drivers are going to have to keep an eye out. And with over an hour left, he's not going to be the last one to get that.
No, we're going to replay on our screen now. Since finishes Goncalves running wide again.
Shot limits.
Oh no, there was also the nose chopped off of the car behind there.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, that was very, very close indeed on this one. Tom, 1 hour, 4 minutes to go here. At the moment, Dan Kirby leading the way with Herlock, Rice and Chen batting it out in the Hypercar Ams, and the GT3 starting to settle down a little bit.
It is. I don't know whether Herlock's dropped back to preserve some fuel for later on. I don't know how much fuel you can save over the course of a single lap round Losail, but it feels like Kirby has been able to pull away since the battle. It was around about half a second, not too long back. But yes, they are cycling nicely into this, as we see Kirby controlling the race. We've got some pit stops in the GTs here. We've got Reyes and Sunverlap in, and someone else behind those two that's just come in. Is that another one of the GTs that's just behind?
Yeah, I think it's Alan Holden. Yeah, Alan Holden in behind. Matt Overton's also in pit lane at the same time. JT Tammy's battling it in and around the battle. Overton and Holden in the pits. Currently, JT Tammy leading the way. David Junt there as well. James Walker sitting in third at the moment. And we did that race on pit lane. Vinicius Goncalves sitting in third place in that 9X8 Evo. However, tucked in behind him is the recovering Ben Kesby here, not really been able to recover, Ross, after his first penalty right at the beginning.
No, and at this track, it's extremely difficult to come back from those. You really have to wait for some of the other drivers to make mistakes. Now, with as many drivers as we're receiving penalties coming into this, that's the only hope you kind of have being able to get up. But we're going to see a lot of these drivers making at least some battles back and forth with each other here as we cut to a replay.
We'll have a look and see. This is Gwilym Banks' penalty. This is probably going to do with an off-track as well once we come out from behind the stadium. Yeah, a little bit of a cut for him. He's now been a little bit of a naughty boy. Past leaders, Kirby, Chen, JT Tammy and Peter Meyer leading the way here as well. And Mike Bell has also been off the side of the circuit, unfortunately for Mike. However, he was in a big old mix with Adam Gray. Oh, there was contact further back from these guys.
That was a matter of time. Adrian Rice and Troy Uyan, yeah, they were very close together.
Yeah, unfortunately for him. Paparanopoulos has had his own dramatics in that Ferrari 499. He's gone and run wide as well, and unfortunately he's gone and taken that and stopped off the side of the circuit. So Paparanopoulos is our first DNF. As we look at Vinicius Goncalves sitting third in Hypercar AMS at the moment. Believe that is Kesby climbing in behind him. And Ben Kesby trying to make his way through here, Tom. How imperative for Ben is it to move up the field after his earlier penalty?
Well, it's vital. I mean, he's got all the traffic to make his way through, which I can imagine he's got through all of the GTs and, well, both the GT classes now. Looking at where Ben Kesby is in terms of the order, he's 13th overall, so he's got a few Hypercar AMs which he has to dispose of before he gets onto the rear of John Uyan, who is running in 10th position in the Cadillac.
Yeah, going to be very difficult for Ben here. At the same time, we're going to have a look back now at a replay from earlier on. This is the one we were talking about just a little bit earlier. This was Mike Bell's moment, who inadvertently got bumped up the bottom. I think that is Mike Bell, and that is John Uyan. Is it John or Troy? It's John Uyan, who seems to slow down, and Mike Bell just ran straight into the back end of him there, Ross. That could happen over the amount of cars that were in that corner.
Yeah, it seemed like John was slowed way more than normal. I mean, I could see lifting off a little bit just because of the congestion around that point, but that almost seemed like he had an issue or he was recovering from something else previous. I want to point out that was not the only interaction that CMS Pro Blue and Smile Power has had. If you recall at Spa, there's the incident between Luke Mitchell, who's not here today. In fact, I believe that he's actually left the series at this point after results from that incident. But he ended up getting into John Uyan as they were fighting down through the second sector of the lap, and effectively just had a big crash there. So again, the dramas continue between those teams, and kind of looking back at that incident that happened with Adrian Rice, where he went up on Troy Uyan, John's teammate, that actually gifted the lead over to Jerry Chen. So now he's leading in Hypercar AM, and starting to build that gap up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting. Your leader of the GT3s has just finally gone in. JT Tammy, that's going to lose that to David Junt. Also, James Walker is in pit lane at the same time. Tammy is still in pit lane at this moment in time with Walker, who's still there. David Junt is taking up the mantle in the LMGT3 Pros. Here once again, Tom, we're 59 minutes to go. We're in that kind of mid-section. This is what I call the Formula One part of the race. We've got the fuel stop out of the way, and now everybody's settling in, whether or not they're going to have to make a second one, whether or not we're going to get to the end. And then, of course, the last 5 or 10 laps is going to be absolute fireworks.
Yep, and then it's going to come down to who can preserve a little bit more fuel, hence why we saw Herlock drop back from Kirby. How much fuel is he able to preserve for now, in case, because you can only serve, so when you do refuel, it only goes up to about as high as it can, which dictates how many laps really you are able to do. So that's what Herlock is thinking at this point. He's playing the long game now compared to where Kirby is at.
Yeah, Ross, I think you're a bit better on the fuel limit liters here. What are we looking at with cars? How many laps do you reckon they're going to get out of a tank?
laps, I'd have to kind of do the math, but I know that with hypercars, you're around 20 to 22, maybe a little bit longer in minutes if you've been doing some lift and coasting or if you've been held up in some of the traffic. So depending on which car it is and how hard they've been pushing, you could be at the either end of that extreme. And certainly we're seeing that it's mixed up, although a lot of them are coming in at relatively the same point in time, whether that's a strategy call just to kind of keep pace with where other drivers are at, or they just truly need to come in, remains to be seen. But a lot of them, yeah, about that 20-22 minute mark is where most of them are going to be coming in, while GT3s are going to be around about the 30-minute mark. And with JT Tammy coming in, he kind of broke the seal on that one, because I think some of these other drivers, like you said, David Junt, he's going to be coming in here shortly, and even Peter Meyer. Shout out to him. He's really kicking butt there in that Lexus GT3. He's the top of the AMs. He's running second overall in the GT3 field.
Yeah, Peter Meyer doing a great job there. Ben Kesby mixing it in as well. Adrian Rice and Jerry Chen on your screen at the moment. These guys are not very far behind. There's Kesby just tucked in right behind him at the moment. This is going to be an interesting situation, especially with Adrian Rice there and John Ewan in behind these guys at the moment, and that's Gwilym Benk not farther up the road either. Jerry Chen, John Ewan, Ben Kesby, Adrian Rice, the Rice being the last one in the pack here with Brian Van Boscom in the GT3. He's just gone to the left hand side on the circuit. You can see him there just coming into picture very, very shortly. And at the moment, all of these guys are kind of on that borderline of tripping over each other. Max Zupfer laps further up the road as well. We're in that middle section, Tom, and this is where I said earlier, this is where it's going to cause a bit of a problem.
It's almost like a graph where there's like loads of X being scattered all over the place. That's what I'm seeing with all these cars as they make their way past the GT. That was it got in the way of them a little bit, but the hypercars are through at last. More headlights flashing towards the GTs as they get out of the way, which is the right thing to do to alert them of their presence. But there we see Ben Kesby going through on Jerry Chen. So Kesby's through ahead of one of the Hyper AMSs. Yeah, that was very, very close as they come towards the last corner.
Yeah, Kesby not hanging around.
Nearly comes across as well.
Yeah.
That was close.
Alan Holden is a little bit upset here. I'm not really quite sure why. Yeah, but I don't really get that why. I don't think Holden really was going to hit that apex and then ends up getting upset and then throws himself off the circuit. But I don't really feel that Hypercar did anything wrong. I don't think Holden was going to hit the apex, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. But Jerry Chen, Adrian Rice still continue to fight. Kesby at the front end of this field. John Uyan and Ian behind, separating these guys. So it's Ben Kesby, Gwilym Benk is sitting next in the order. Then you've got Jerry Chen behind that. Then Uyan, then Rice, and then Bell coming at the back end. So this group is getting very, very sporty. That's Sean Kelly on the right-hand side at the same time, and we know he's had his dramas throughout this race, and that whole team are going to be in the naughty books. They're going to go more times to George Angelidis than I do in a season, which, hey, if anybody's doing that, I'm happy about that one. But Jerry Chen and Adrian Rice still fighting out in that Hypercar AM. I'm sure George is very happy. He don't have to talk to me much this season, which is always good. Unlike last season, I felt like I was on my way to the headmaster's office after each round there, Ross, to be honest with you. But at the moment, all quiet on the Western Front with me at George, but not quiet at LaSalle.
No, this is a spicy battle here. I mean, they're all kind of mixed in with each other. Jerry Chen's going to do everything he can to stay ahead of Adrian Rice, who really fell off the pace there after that interaction with Uyan. But they're in it right now, and I think maybe just after he did have that spin, it might have compromised that car a bit more, because Rice definitely had pace on Chen, but at this point he's really struggling now that he's stuck in behind some of that traffic. I don't know if he's going to be able to get himself out of this.
Do you think that's just aero washing in around the traffic there, though, Ross, do we think? Because he sat in the Valkyrie. You know, the Valkyrie's got more wings than a pigeon flock. You know, is it that aero wash in and around that Valkyrie? The lights coming off here with John Uyan. What's coming off in behind with Mike Bell? And, you know, everything in between these. Is this what's causing them the problem?
Well, James, I mean, it is it may be not quite a pigeon fart, but there is a little bit of air wash there. I think it's probably more like it's
I didn't say fart,
It's-
Ross.
so
I
he's-
said flock.
Oh, flock. Okay, there we go. Take a quick look at this replay here as it breaks it up.
Matt Bice.
Uh-oh.
Matt
Oh,
Bice.
Stephen Miller again.
Yeah, Matt Bice having a moment. On that one.
I'm not sure. I don't know why he's having this kind of problem where he's just driving the car and is those ahead of him. That's the second or third time he's hit a hypercar going through the corners.
Woos 888 there. Good job on the coverage. Thank you so much. Glad you like it. Us and the pigeons up here in the booth. We do try. And Ben Kesby getting a penalty for being a naughty boy there, running off the side of the circuit. Unfortunately, he's going to cop one on that. Adrian Rice is still mixing it in with Mike Bell at this moment in time. Robert Molin, who we haven't seen much of, in behind that as well. There's a couple of other people in and around here that's been off track. Troy Uyan as well. Oh, he ran fast into one, and I think that's Suvic in front.
Oh.
Is it a Suvic in front? I'm sure that's Suvic in front of him. Is it Suvic? Him and Suvic are in the same livery, so it could be Dahlgren. Oh, it's really hard. Did he slow down? I can't, can we get that? It's really hard from a Troy Uyan. Yeah, there was a lot going on. I think there was a lot going on there, Tom, on that one, and it's very hard to decipher.
Yeah, very hard indeed. Troy Uyan, who's got Michael Lock for company. It's not the first time they've been in close proximity on circuit. There is Dahlgren, there is Uyan in fourth place in the Hypercar Pro. Is the that's Dahlgren going through one of the GTs before the final. It's Stephen Miller, who's had an eventful race of his own. So he's trying to make up for lost time as we speak. Miller running third in the LMGT3 AM class as we approach the halfway point here in Losail.
Yeah, 51 minutes on the clock, Dahlgren with Miller tucked in. We're going to have a look now. We see this with Uyan. I wonder if there's the GT3 there, but this is so uncertain. No, Ross, isn't he? He's so uncertain. Uyan thinks he's going to go for it. The GT3 left in the gap, and literally, he didn't go for it. And it's really hard as well because the GT3 then closes the door on him, Ross. I'm not quite sure where we go with that one.
That's a difficult transition point because there's just a lot of exchange and weight transfer there. I'm a little bit distracted by what's going on with that hypercar battle back with Uyan, Bell, and Rice and all them that are mixed up in there. It was really
Rice
close.
has just been off the circuit. Rice has
and
also just been off the circuit on that one, Ross.
I missed who just went into the pits there. I think it was John Uyan who tucked in.
It's Rice that's in the pits from I think he was in the lead before he came in, or unless he was in second place before he pitted in. So Adrian Rice comes in. That's his second stop of the race, as does Porteous Heath. He's in from third.
Yeah, and then we've got John Uyan in the mix as well. Mike Bell there. Well, there's so many things at this moment in time you want to say, but you're going to have to keep it quiet and keep this professional, Ross. I think for a minute this has been cleaner than what we kind of would have expected, but everybody seems to be behaving.
Well, behaving is certainly a relative term. Like I was saying, that hypercar battle is getting very spicy. Mike Bell put a move on one of the Uans. I thought it was Troy, but it might have been John by that point since we moved away from it for a bit. But it did look a little bit suspect because he did have to go off course to complete the pass. And I'd hate to say it, but I think we're going to see another filing there between CMS Pro and Smile Power. I really hate to see that kind of interaction, but I know that there's been a lot of controversy between the two teams just all season long. So, I'd love to see the drama, but would like to just see it as just good racecraft, good racing back and forth on track.
Now, what is this? Is this a love-hate relationship? Is it a we don't like you relationship? Is it a hate relationship? Is it, a man and his ex-wife relationship? What is it?
Is it Marmite?
Yeah. What is it, Marmite? What is it, Russ? They clearly got beef.
I mean, Marmite might sound about right. I think it's a difference of of opinions in terms of what constitutes proper endurance car etiquette and whatnot, and so it's kind of come down to more battles that happen in the steward's office than what happens on track, unfortunately. Not to say that's been the entire experience. There have been some excellent battles between the two teams and drivers within throughout the season, especially like starting out from Daytona. There were a couple moments where things got really accelerated, but yeah, you know, I want to see these teams continue on and really show their prowess. You know, keep it out of the steward's office. Let's help it on track. Oh, is that? I think that's Mulling. Yeah, because that's the only Alpine.
Yeah.
Valtteri, his teammate's not here.
Yeah, he's stuck in the middle, unfortunately. Overton. Now we've got Sean Kelly coming round. We know Kelly's had his own dramas here. He's going to try and split the GT3 second and third battle. Steady, steady. He's tucked in right behind him here at the moment. Sean Kelly, he's not had a good time in that corner. He's now going to make sure he's going to play ball with these cars. If he does anything silly and takes them out, well, it's going to be another reason and another checklist on George Angelidis' list. But he has made it through for Kelly. Junt and Overton still now resume their battle once ahead. JT Sammy absolutely rocking up the GT3 pros at the moment. 25 seconds, 23 seconds out in front here. Dan Kirby, well, he's 49 seconds in front of Troy Huyan. Concalves is 27 seconds in front of Rice. JT Sammy 22 ahead of Junt. McQuarrie 32 seconds ahead of Peter Meyer. Well, for me, Ross Smith, we might as well pack up, mark them the winners and go home, haven't we?
Well, you never want to say that during an endurance race, even with 5 seconds left to go. But it's certainly showing pretty good here for JT Tammy, Dark Horse Racing in general, or Dark Thunder Racing in general. Oh, that was a little bit spicy, sending the AMG off on the side like that for David Junt. Overton had been running pretty clean up to that point. We'll see if he gives this position back. It looks like, yeah, he's slowing to let it by. Good on him, good man.
Yeah, that was a very, very spicy interaction as well there. David Junt and Matt Overton. I just say fight, boys, go for it. Throw the cars at each other as they continue to have this good old scrap down here, Tom, as well in the GT3s.
Nice scrap indeed, and just to fill you in, Herlot has picked up a penalty, I believe, as well as Boyce. And yeah, so both of which have got penalties now for speeding in the pit lane. We've been told for Herlock and Boyce, so that's their races compromised somewhat, and that makes Kirby's life a hell of a lot easier from here on in.
Well, it definitely does. I think at the end of the day, they've all sort of practiced going into pit lane, so I'm a bit surprised that they have got penalties for speeding in the pit lane. Don't get me wrong, I've done it before, but you do end up only just pressing the button there. Matt Bice tucked in at this moment in time. Is he going to make his way through? Behind him at the moment, that is, I believe, what on this as well. I believe that's behind them, it's Suvik. I think at the same time on that one as they continue to fight here once more. That's actually Magnus Dahlgren, Matt Bice in between Matt Overton and David Junt. There's also another car tucked in here as well. But it's one spin up for Michael Locke. I believe that was Michael Locke, is it? I think has also just gone round. And he has gone round for Michael Locke there. What is he going to be involved in this? I think he just ran wide and ended up getting himself in the mix. David Junt, Matt Overton still continue to fight here, Ross. Great action taking place.
Yeah, it's interesting. This race has produced a lot more inter-class, inter-category battles just all happening at the same time than anywhere else, and it has so much to do with the turning and braking sequences of the track. It's designed for motorcycles, so you have very long sweeping corners, and they're just kind of in that specific point where you can't really carry as much speed. You're almost straddled between how much of the turning is coming from the aero and how much is being produced by the mechanical grip, and there's just so much overlap between hypercars and even the cars within the groups. It's just producing a lot of different kind of chaos and interactions that we're just seeing happen throughout the entire race.
Yeah, that's Michael Locke from the Crown Dental Group Peugeot 9X8. We did discuss this right at the beginning here as well, though, Tom. Interactions between the two classes got to be very, very careful indeed.
Indeed. Kirby just came into the pits right this second, or he's left the pits now. He's got a more comfortable margin, unsurprisingly, over Herlock, who's still in second place. I don't know if he's actually served his penalty yet, but the gap is a lot bigger now compared to before. Herlock comes back in to serve his penalty, so that answers my question.
Ross, iRacing, pit button, close the car down. ATC, LMU, all acting in the same way. Is RF2 the same thing? You hit the button and it slows the car straight down?
If you're talking the pit limiter, it will slow you down, but if you come in at 300k and it's a 62k pit road speed, it's not going to instantly take the car down. I mean, you have to manage that and get your speed down before you cross the line. So it's on the drivers to be able to handle that. I'm actually surprised that there are as many speeding penalties. I would have guessed that any penalties throughout this race would just be track limits, kind of like Tom was saying there as far as some of the penalties that were popping up, but clearly not.
Yeah, it's Gilles Lalonde in pit lane. Shunt and Overton resuming their battle, going down into turn 1. Shunt in that Mercedes AMG Evo GT3. Behind that is Overton in that Aston Martin Vantage. He's going to look up the inside of 2, not being there as well. Coming into the right-hander of 3. Great GT3 battle here, Tom. Great interactions at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. 42 minutes remaining. Yunt and Overton in their own teams-on battle again as they come towards turn number 4 of the circuit. You see Overton closing on the Mercedes there, the AMG of Yunt just fending him off for the time being before he gets to the hairpin there. Yunt taking his line, the racing line, which is where you want to be. Yeah, Overton absolutely giving it tooth for nail, taking a wider line just to help him with the traction and the speed to close in within the slipstream of the AMG, coming round towards the long chicane, it has to be said. I love this flowing chicane actually. It kind of reminds me of IMSA a little bit with the Villeneuve chicane where it's like a left and you wait in a little bit before you turn right again. It's a lovely flow around the modern day circuit for any motor racing championship that is contesting this particular course.
Yeah, see what you can see Gent and Overton continue at this moment in time. Just in front of that was Timon Suvic. You can see now Dan Kirby at the same time. He is out on track. We'll give the good old overlay a bit of a kick in a minute as well. He's out of pit lane as for Dan Kirby. And he's back out on the racetrack here as well. David Shunt, Matthew Overton continue to fight out in the GT3s. This is a class for us that have really got a lot to deal with, haven't they? They've got to try and keep position with the guys in front, and they've got to try and manage the traffic with the guys behind.
Yeah, you're seeing that all throughout the race here, and this is such an interesting matchup just between the two car types because, as was mentioned, it's that Aston Martin, Matthew Overton's really able to hug a very sharp line through there, and you see the AMG really having to push out. A lot of that I feel like has to do with weight and the way that the distribution is. That Aston Martin is much more balanced, which kind of gives it an advantage here. Ooh,
he gets on the
I
sand.
see that. Just cursed him. And Matthew Overton was doing such a good job. It looks like he managed to just save it, keep it off the wall maybe, but I think that split balance for the Aston Martin has really benefited it on this track, whereas that very heavy front 6-liter naturally aspirated engine in the front of that Mercedes, it just has to really haul it around, and so it's a little bit less nimble and not really having as many places to kind of stretch its legs where it can find that kind of advantage. So of course, now Matthew Overton has to build that gap back down.
Yeah, I can tell you now, Overton did hit the wall. I'm quite sure why we're rewinding here. He goes and spins round as Matt Overton, and you'll see him. He does end up basically just torpedoing the wall. Hopefully, it'll keep it out of that horrible stadium view. Nope, you ain't going to see him. We'll do it on board with him, and you can see him goes and ends up hitting the wall there as well. Troy Uyan has had his own dramatic moment. He just cleared Luciano Echarzo and then runs a little bit wide onto the slippery stuff. Manages to get it back on track. So for Troy Uyan, good job for him on that one. Coming into the last 39 minutes on that. I'm not quite sure that stop count's correct, as I'm pretty sure everybody at one point has pitted on the left-hand side there. So just take that with the biggest pinch of salt you possibly can here. But Tom, 38 minutes, you're going to want to really kind of get on your way a little bit now.
Yeah, you should do. And the way the drivers are just settling in here, we've seen Uyan and Kesby. Now Kesby is one of those that served a penalty for, I think it was for either track limits or speed in the pit lane that Kesby got penalised for. He's going through on Uyan, which is no surprise. Kesby will be boiled inside that crash helmet, just determined to just make up for lost time. I don't think that was Uyan he got by, actually. I think that might have been someone else. He was that
Eric Monet.
Was it Eric? Yeah, it was Monet, wasn't it? I knew it was a blue livery machine. We're looking at, you saw John Uyan on the graphic there. It's actually the different kind of blue machine compared to the one that Kesby just got by on circuit. And there's a GT3 which he'll want to dispose of very, very quickly without tripping over it.
Yeah, that's James Walker just a little bit further up the road here. Kesby's gone through, Uyan's gone through at the same time. Let's hope Ben Kesby is not wearing a helmet, being that he will end up, well, I don't know. Ross, you ever driven on a sim in a helmet?
Of course I have. Not my
Really?
own. Oh yeah, it's a full immersive experience. Throw a helmet on, you get the straps. I mean, when you're in a motion sim and you strap a VR headset on there, it's an experience. I recommend it if anybody has the opportunity at any time. It feels good.
So you put your straps on, did you?
Yeah, get the strap on. What are you saying?
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm just making sure that I heard you correctly that you said about getting the straps on.
Yeah.
On that one. Here as well, there's another replay coming up.
Yeah, you can see that one coming. I think that might have been Zach Lalonde.
It was Gilles Lalonde. Yeah, Gilles Lalonde just goes and literally bumps into the back of Adam Gray. There was a little bit of a miscommunication at that point. Johnny Gutierrez and Michael Locker on your screen at the moment. They're battling away for 5th and 6th, breaking into the last 35 minutes of action here. And, well, you can see on the left-hand side, I don't think, bar any major dramas, that the leader is going to lose the time that they've got at the moment. Kirby, 16 seconds. Rice, Poitiers, Heath as well. Tammy with Jean. McQuarrie with Maya. The gap is extending considerably here. Herlock to Barker is about 11 seconds, I believe, at this moment in time. It'll be interesting to see if this one comes down any more or whether or not he's not going to make it. But as you can see, Johnny Gutierrez as well, Vinicius Cancalves and Dan Herlock have just run side by side. Herlock's just gone through. Johnny Gutierrez and Michael Lock on your screen at the moment.
Lock and Gutierrez coming down the pit straight. Sorry, Ross, if I cut across to you there. But this is a nice battle to watch between these two. Gutierrez, who has had an eventful season so far, as Lock looks to the inside. Lock looks to be the quicker of the two drivers, and just compare the lap times between those two as they headed over the line. If I could just find their names on here. 5th and 6th, so you can see that Lock did a 1:46.4, Gutierrez did a 1:47.5, so Lock taking just over a second out of Gutierrez's margin as they come towards turn number 4. It's a matter of time before Lock gets past, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, I think you're right, and good notice on the on Gutierrez and the way his season's been. He actually finished 3rd at Daytona, not very far behind the two Smile Power leaders. Both of these drivers in these 9X8s, they're kind of underdogs in a way because they don't get quite as much attention as some of those behemoth Cadillac teams, but they really do get up there and scrap. Ben Kesby also, they're all kind of right in there and amongst these other groups. Just kind of mixing things up. So, they're running through traffic right now. I think, Michael Lock, if he's able to clear this without too much, he's going to lose a little bit of time. But yeah, this isn't over yet. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Keep an eye and see John Uyan, Ben Kesby. Kesby sitting down in 12th at the moment. He's actually down in 14th, I should say, on my screen. Not quite sure why he's showing up on there, but I'm sure at the end of the day, he's going to be looking to make his way forward with John Uyan in front of him. Not going to be the most easiest thing to overtake here at the moment. John putting on a good old defense there. Kesby 1.3 seconds. I'm not exactly sure. I think that's Benjamin Porteous Heath. He's splitting the pack up there. I don't think that Ben Kesby is the second car back behind John Uyan. I believe. Is that Benjamin Porteous Heath in the middle?
Yeah, that's him.
It's the overall position, I think, James, because that's why we're seeing 11th for Uyan and Kesby in 12th. Someone's been off the circuit from what we judge. JT Tammy's the one who's made a mistake somewhere. As just got otherwise gone off again. Has JT Tammy?
Yeah,
I don't know, replay here.
you can see just about near enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was
Looked like
contact
a
there with that car in there, Ross, as well.
No contact. Well, couldn't see. It mild at the very least, but he was definitely caught off because he had that moment and went wide there, and was not expecting the Cadillac to suddenly be in his way.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think there was a lot of aero rush gone straight across him. Eric Monet has been penalised here at the same time. He's a little naughty. I believe that was speeding in the pit lane. We'll have a look again at this, whether or not there was any contact from that hypercar in front. Go on board now. Watch to the right-hand side. Very, very short. No.
Lost it
Was
by
there
himself.
wash?
James Phillips.
Yeah, maybe.
That was so violent, though. It almost looked like it might have been. Like a bounty? Maybe.
Did he
It might have
damage
just
it? I
been-
don't know.
That was really odd. It almost looked like maybe there was some server lag or something coming into play there. So much moved.
I think it
looked
might
like-
have been Timon Suvic in and around it now. I'll try and have a see if I can notice. Mike Bell. Mike Bell.
I was going to say, it looked like a Smile Power.
Yeah, Mike Bell there was the one who went across him. So we'll have to keep an eye and see. Michael Locke, Johnny Gutierrez fighting out for 5th and 6th at the moment in class. This is the battle, believe. This is actually 5th and 6th overall as well. So these guys continuing to fight it out. Gutierrez in that 9X8 Evo. Michael Locke also in the X8 Evo. So this is a nice little car battle here. We're going to see who's got the class here, Tom, in the 9X8.
Yeah, answering your point there, Locke got by Gutierrez at turn 1 on this lap. Locke was a lot quicker compared to the 102, so Locke should be able to pull away. He's much quicker at this moment in time. We've got a pit stop over for Monet, who's competing in the Hypercar AM class. There we go, back to the battle for 11th place in class involving John Uyan and Ben Kesby. Kesby's been frustrated behind him for a number of laps now, hasn't he?
Yeah, you kind of can't really argue with what John Uyan's doing, though, Ross, can you? He's just driving the circuit and Kesby can't get through.
No, Tom's exactly right. This has been going on for quite a while, and I want to say that it's probably a matter of Kesby was just really overworking the car to get back up to the back of the field to close down that gap, like you mentioned before, coming from his earlier penalty being served. But I can tell you that the all-wheel drive cars are, I would like to say, are all struggling here, but I say that, and Benjamin Porteous-Heath is actually leading the AMs in his Toyota. But certainly, if you've worked the tires too much, then it's just going to feel like driving a big around. Looks like a little bit of a trying to queue up
hiccup here. Yeah, we're going to have a look, I think, as well. But Uyan and Kesby still continuing to fight there once again. What can Kesby do about it? Apart from Ross, the obvious of getting quicker.
Well, yeah. I think he just needs to be patient and just like really pick his corners. I think you might have hit on something before with the aero wash, because it doesn't have a huge effect, but if you're just missing off a little bit, a couple tenths here or there, it's enough where you just lose a little bit of that closing distance, so you can't really set yourself up for the next corner. You might be able to do something with some of the traffic in here, maybe not, but he does a few cars ahead. He's definitely been pushing really hard on Uyan, so I think this is going to be a matter of time. He just needs to be patient and really make this work.
Is this John, do we think, though, Tom, John Uyan driving above and beyond where he normally would be in the fact that he wants to keep Kesby in behind him?
Well, it's his choice, but Kesby, well, he'll be determined to get by. I don't know where they are in terms of pit stop strategy, but you could just see that Kesby, who has had an eventful evening so far, has stuck behind Uyan, who's not given an inch by any means. They are a lap down on the leader of Dan Kirby, who's got a 12-second lead over Cameron Barker. Dan Herlock, of that penalty, 27 seconds off Barker.
That is a hypercar of Monet, who has now just split them up here. Eric Monet But these ones, they've just got in the middle. I don't think, John, you've done what you had to do. You put the car in beside you, son.
Ooh,
What is Monet doing?
That's naughty. That's naughty for Monet. Like, I mean, he's a lot down as well, isn't he, on Kesby? So he has no right to just hold him up the way he is doing. And yeah, it's almost like he's just weaved across Kesby there. And yeah, you could just see, not giving an inch. He's trying to fight back.
Yeah,
That's not on.
Tom, you're right. He's allowed to hold his line. He can't defend, against blue flags. But you certainly can't be doing any of that. That's overt.
It's a little bit extreme there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he would even think about
I think he didn't like what was happening with the way that Kesby was coming up on him. I think there was just a moment that he felt that he was feeling violated, maybe, and he was expressing himself.
Yeah, I think I've just looked on board of that position from Monet's car. Now, that's the same repeat of what we had earlier, wasn't it?
This one's
Yeah, that's the JT Tammy situation. I think we had this one of them. The same was like a deja vu with Paul Burt Reyes, I think, earlier on. No, Max Sunferlap, wasn't it? And Gilles Lalonde did exactly the same thing. I just looked on board with Monet, though, Ross. I don't know, and I'm throwing this out from left field here. Do you think because Ben Kesby can't see Monet's lights, that Monet was trying to tell him which way to go by moving his steering wheel? Because knowing that it's a broadcasted race, there's going to be reports about it. Why would he intentionally block somebody? Or is he trying to say to him, please take the inside line if you're not going to?
Well, I can't speak for Moynier, but certainly watching it back from the TV cameras, it looked pretty deliberate that he pulled across. Now, he might have been trying to get out of the way and after they had that interaction, but just based off of how Moynier kind of pushed the car out wide on that curbing from the following corners, I'm skeptical that was the situation. I think he might have had a little bit more displeasure as to how things were unfolding.
But you don't think he was trying to tell Kesby to take the inside line then?
I don't believe that's the case.
Seems that, I don't know. It just seems weird why people go and decide, Tom, that on a broadcasted race they're going to go and behave like utter plebs.
Yeah, well, that's for Monet to explain himself afterwards. With Gutierrez and Locke. Interestingly, Gutierrez is back ahead of Locke now. Don't know whether Locke made a mistake earlier, and he's back behind Gutierrez, of which he passed a few laps ago at turn 1. So this is a 3-car battle. Is that Uyan behind him?
Yeah, Troy.
It was Troy, isn't it? Yeah.
Troy Uyan having a good old freeway battle here with Gutierrez and Locke at the same time as they continue to fight. Uyan's just gone up the inside. Locke nearly had that car sideways. He's now going to tuck in behind Uyan here. Is he going to be able to get this done? Michael Locke on the run down into turn 1. Over the line they go. He's closing in. Is he going to dive deeper than Tom Daly in the Olympics? No. Uyan's going to pull out. There's got to be contact. Is there going to be contact between Gutierrez? Side by side through the left-hander of turn 2 now. Johnny Gutierrez in front of Troy Uyan. Michael Locke coming back at him. In through turn 3, coming into the right-hander now as well. Continuing to fight. These guys are still fighting out here. At the same time, I've got the producer screaming in my ear roll about something at the moment. But we've got battles on the screen. They're now mixing it in with GT3s. Johnny Gutierrez and Troy Uyan continuing to fight with Michael Locke. GT3's in the middle of all of this, Tom. Is going to get a little bit manic as Michael Locke now tries to have a go at Uyan.
Troy Uyan's been the fastest of the 3 for a number of laps. Is now trying to make his way through on Gutierrez this time around as we see Locke go. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong shot there. We've cut away from that battle.
Kesby Uyan. Yeah.
Here we go. This is the 3-car battle of Gutierrez, Uyan, and lock coming through. This is turn 11. This is the sequence of right-handers before the left-hander, which is the penultimate turn of turn 15. And now they'll come round to the pit straight. Surely Choi Uyan will get the better of Gutierrez this time around. It looks to be slam dunk.
Yeah. Now we've got a replay going on. The out there, if he was offering a line, he wouldn't have run him off at the exit. Maybe. You see one of the cars there. There is slight little bit of contact with Kesby.
Pressure.
Yeah, he puts him under pressure here all the way through. I think there's further contact. Wow.
That was clumsy.
Yeah, good redress. He holds on to. I think Tommy he may have.
Oh, that rejoin was a
very
little bit scary.
But yeah, I think Tommy was just coming in and looking at it. He might not have expected John to close quite that much, and he was just on the hunt. You get into one of those situations, and then all of a sudden your face is filled with diffuser and can't pull out of it.
Well, and that's fair enough. I mean, for that particular corner of the racetrack, you're just taking the line at the end of the day. Maybe just didn't expect the driver ahead of you to brake as soon as he did. But at least the driver that ran into him has given the place back, which is only sporting for him to do that. Meanwhile, we'll go back to the battle for 5th place in Hypercar Pro. This is Troy Uyan, who's now in front of Gutierrez for your information, but he's getting held up by that GT3, who's just not doing him any favours. Off goes Gutierrez at turn 10, and that's easy picking there for Locke to make his way past.
Yeah, Michael Locke just got through there. That was Holden in the GT3, tucked in behind Troy Uyan. Continuing the fight, that's going to clear the car now behind him as well. So good job there for all of these guys. That was Gutierrez, makes it past Holden without any issues. He's now got to close back up to the back end of Michael Locke here. He's got to close back up onto this situational battle with Troy Uyan as well. This is for 5th, 6th and 7th in the Hypercar Pros. We've got Jerry Chen in pit lane again, and also Bice and Matthew. Was it Matthew, I think, is only taking part this evening, is in pit lane at the same time. So a couple of Hypercar AMs in pit lane. David Shunt still leading the GT3s. They've kind of all settled down. There really isn't anyone close together on the situational with that one. We've only had 2 DNFs so far. Brian Van Boscombe and Antonis Paparanopoulos have unfortunately DNF'd, but the battle still continues. Johnny Gutierrez running around in 7th here with Michael Locke in 6th, Tom, at the moment.
Yep, Gutierrez just well, he's in the pits actually, is Gutierrez, so this will be his last stop of the race, or he'll be coming back up. We're going to see a replay of someone rejoining the racetrack, although maybe not as ideal as he'd like to be. He's gone onto the sand. Yeah, that's an unsafe rejoin there. I couldn't quite recognise who that was coming back on. It's Pontius Heath who came back onto the racetrack, so that's 50-50 for me, but it wasn't ideal, was it?
No, I think I need to see that again. I think that gave a different view. I think there was the right-hand side of the racetrack that he was on. There was the passing car did have space on this circuit. Let's not forget here, we're not at Monaco where there's no room. I feel he's going to basically be able to make their way through. Dan Kirby there, was the car affected by that? But whether or not there was, I don't know, any major interference, Ross, it wasn't ideal, but it wasn't really, was it as dangerous as he thinks, considering Kirby's got all the room on the track?
Well, I mean, regardless, I think Benjamin, Ben was just a little bit loose coming back. He certainly wasn't trying to cut back in. He just was losing the back end a little bit, and it pulled him over more. So, no harm, no foul.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was purposely trying to get in the way there, Ross. I think you are right. I think Porteous Heath's car was sliding, and the problem is what people's got to understand is when your car is sliding, you're not in control. You may sit back and think you are Max Verstappen or anybody else, but you are not in control of that car at the moment it's sliding. got to be aware of this. He was not in control. I think you are right, Ross. I think Boyasif was losing that back end, and Kirby's got to understand that. And look, at the end of the day, Ross, that Kirby's so laid back, I could push him over and he'd still lay on his back. He's that relaxed about it. He probably wouldn't even care that had happened. He had a bit flash of the lights, a bit moaning, and then on he goes and just carries on leading the race. I personally think Boyasif was a little bit slidey coming on there.
Yeah, he's well, and Kirby. I mean, at that point, I think he was just kind of flashing as just more of a reaction, like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm over here. You know, maybe saying like, whoa, that was close. But you're right. I mean, right now, Kirby's taking advantage of the situation as much as he can. He's got his teammate Barker running as rear gunner for him, but he doesn't even need him at this point with a 60-some second gap. I mean, we do have pit cycles going through, but even if he came in and changed tires, I mean, he's not catching up to him, and that's just been a matter of his, you know, Smile Power has had to deal with their penalties either from serving previously or copped from this race, and Kirby's kept it clean.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, Woos should have braked to full stop or stop under control. You have got to be in a hypercar to understand why that would have resulted more in him spinning round when the car's sliding. He would have let it try to feather the pedal to allow the car to grip back up for him to be able to go. If you try to slam on the brakes, if you've watched previous broadcasts before, when you slam on the brakes at certain points, your back end wants to come round, or your car goes sideways, you've burnt up all your coils. For Benjamin Boyasif, he did what he had to do. He didn't know that car was going to react as he was coming back on. His back end started sliding. Instead of slamming on the throttle and going sideways, which is what he would have happened with smoke aplenty coming out of all four wheels, he let the car grip back up as well. He weren't to know Kirby was going to come around that corner at that point. So, I don't know. For me, I don't think there was anything malicious in that from Benjamin Boyasif. I just think that the car was not under his full control on that one. Adrian Rice and Vinicius Goncalves 3.2 seconds apart at the moment there as well. So you can see them fighting out down in Hypercar, and Rice out in front, Goncalves sitting in second. No real battles to sort of talk of at the moment. We've got Michael Locke and Gutierrez coming back together on the racetrack as well. They've got Sean Kelly in front of them at this moment in time. So for Sean Kelly, he's got to be aware that Gutierrez and Michael Locke are coming through on him on that one. Gas and brake simultaneously to create balance. Dude, try. Woes, go and try and let me know how that works. Because all you're going to create is a massive load of tyre spin and smoke coming out of plenty. Gassing and braking, you're trying to drag the car to try and hold it. It's not possible on that one. I'm sorry. I think that's a little bit from left field there, Woes. So there we go. At the same time here, Tom, 15 minutes to go on the clock. Are the winners all set up in class, really?
I'm just looking to see down in LMGT3 because we saw someone coming into the pits, or looking at the timing pages. It's the fact that McQuarrie's 13 seconds off Peter Meyer, so Peter Meyer may well have the class win in his pocket. It just seems to be set in stone for the finish now, James. We're not really seeing any battles on circuit. The closest one we've got is what we're seeing on screen involving Gutierrez and Locke. Troy Uyan has shot off into the distance, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, but I think that was kind of expected, Ross, wouldn't you say? As soon as you start leaving a battle where people are fighting, that front car always ends up breaking away.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, we saw as Uyan came up to the back of them as they were battling, he just had so much more pace. And even when these two were separated, that was still the case. I mean, the only thing that was really holding him back was just traffic and circumstance. So, yeah, I think Troy, you know, he's got a very solid setup. I know that he works with his teammate quite a bit there to make that work. Somebody's off on the side there.
It's
looks like, yeah.
Oh, that's one of the Hypercars off.
Oh, that's Sean Kelly. Exactly the same place as he had that drama earlier on there as well. On that one, Ross, I'm going to leave you to continue that battle in YouTube chat there. I'll let you and Woes fight that one out. As Johnny Gutierrez is trying to get around the outside of Alan Holden, Michael Locke in there at the same time, as these guys continuing to fight. Once more fighting out for 6th and 7th in class. Troy Uyan escaping off up the road there. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all works out. I still think, though, Tom, this is looking highly unlikely that the leads are going to change in classes.
Yeah, well, Kirby's got this one sewn up by the looks of it. It's a shame that Herlock got that penalty earlier for speeding in the pit lane, which has promoted Cameron Barker up to second, and he's not looking like he's trouble at the moment. I think he came into the pits not too long ago. If he's come into the pits, then he should be able to put in a... Well, he's done an outlet, so it'll be about a couple of laps ago that Barker was in the pits for. So Herlock, well, it's down to him to really, if he can get the gap down. The fast lap of the race at 1:42.8 by the race leader.
Yeah, Dan Kirby still leading the way. Barker in second. Herlock's got the gap down at 9.3. Dahlgren 6 back from him. Uyan 28 back from him. Gutierrez 9 back from him. You can see Michael Lock literally less than a second back at this moment in time. Currently, by what I can see, this is the closest battle on the racetrack here, and at the moment we will find out how this works out here with Johnny Gutierrez and Michael Lock. Currently, it's very, very exciting here, Ross. The battle of the 9X8 Evos.
Yeah, it's really cool to see these two go at it because they kind of have similar driving styles, maybe slightly different from one another, but obviously they're kind of waxing and waning in some of the parts of the track, some of the segments. Obviously, Micah has been able to really put the screws to Johnny Gutierrez. It's just he can't seem to stay up in front of him. I know some of that's going to come down to pit stop cycling, but like so many other things, you just keep running into traffic, and then any opportunity you had where you might have been able to effect a pass, it just gets swapped away from you.
Yeah. What they got to do though, Ross, Michael Lock's been staring at the back of Johnny Gutierrez for a while now. Same scenario as we had with Kesby and Uyan. Can Lock do anything?
Certainly. I mean, it's never written in stone. It just requires you getting, like for instance, right here, being able to get a good run out of that final corner so you can set up going into turn one and get it stuffed down the inside. I mean, you can see him, he's starting to close up, but he just wasn't near enough to be able to really get effective use of that slipstream. If he was just a little bit closer coming out of that final corner, he could have gotten much more effect there. He could have been probably another couple tenths up the track, and he could have stuck his nose down on the inside before they had to deal with that GT3.
Yeah, well, he's going to have to sit there and wait at the moment here as well. Tom, 11 minutes on the clock. Michael Lock still sat in behind Gutierrez. You can see from the back end of Gutierrez's 9X8 looking at Lock at the moment. Lock's surely got to try something, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, they're both running the same car as each other. They're both running the Peugeot 9X8. So it comes down to the driver's skill in this particular squabble between Gutierrez and Lock. So here we are with the onboard cameras for both drivers there. The rear view of Gutierrez and the front view of Lock coming round the hairpin, and then the sweeping left-hander of turn 11. And then we've got right-handers before they come round. It feels like Gutierrez has got this one ahead, but it just takes one mistake for him to really drop back behind Lock, who will be ruining that mistake, which allowed Gutierrez to go back ahead, and now he's got to really dig deep if he wants that position back.
Yeah, he has. He's going to have to try and pluck it up here. George Angelidis was getting close to Eric Monet. It was below a second. Angelidis just struggled with a little bit above a GT3 at the moment. And now he's going to catch back up there. Back view still looking from Gutierrez to Michael Lock at the moment. Monet and Angelidis are getting very, very close. Angelidis bringing it down within that second at the moment. But you can see these two continuing to go round the turn here. Bottom right-hand corner is the Monet-Angelidis battle. You see Angelidis has got the bit between his teeth, closing him down. Gutierrez on the main screen with Michael Lock. Half a second between the two on the left. You've literally got about just breaking 7 tenths to the two in the bottom right-hand corner here. Keep an eye out on both screens if you can. Split your vision up, pull an eye out. I don't really mind, because this is two battles that are going to come to fruition very, very shortly there once again. And these guys, Ross, getting close on both sides.
Yeah, 100%. This is starting to come down to where you see converging strategies and just circumstances of the race start to play out as George is able to really... Now that's the type of pass that I was talking about that we'd expect to see happening over in this Gutierrez lock fight. George he had a good amount of pace, no traffic in the way, and he was right there with him as they came in right into that turn one. So he was able to sneak by. And I don't think Moynier has an answer for him. So unless this comes down to any kind of fueling mistake or anything on George's part, I think he's just going to run away from him at this point.
Oh, sorry, he's slowing. He went off the circuit, James did, Locke. I don't know whether he got caught up behind one of the GTs, but he made a mistake through the right-hander. He's dropped back, yeah. You could just see that he's got sand on his tyres and he's lost crucial ground, and I think effectively that's the end of that battle.
No, he got a penalty. He got a penalty for track limits. Yeah, he got a penalty for track limits. That's why all of a sudden... Russ, just clarify these track limit penalties for us here in R Factor. You know, other games like iRacing, for instance, you get to 17 off tracks, you got to go for a drive-through. What's the situation here with RF2? Because I know everybody does it differently. What is it within the in-game of RF2 where if he goes off track limits, they give you some form of penalty? What is the penalty? Is it instant, like a 3-second slowdown, or what's the situation?
So there's a lot of variability in it. It's similar to what you see elsewhere, where if you go off track, the driver instantly gets a warning up above them where it kind of color codes the severity of the penalty that's about to hit them. So, you know, if it might come up white saying like, hey, you know, stewards are looking at that. You might see yellow or orange, and that's when it's starting to be like, okay, this is pretty severe. You need to slow down almost immediately, or else you're going to see a penalty happening. And the number of points that happen based on that, you know, if it's yellow, you might get a quarter point, maybe half a point. Goes up into the orange, you might be looking at 3/4, a whole point. And in general, we allow for about 4 points per race, although that's variable just depending on the way that the track limits are. If they're really strict, we might allow more. If it's a very long race, like at Le Mans, we might move it up. But in general, I mean, drivers know when it's coming. There might be a few instances if they happen to go through an area where they pick up a penalty, but because they're traveling so quickly or they're going into a braking zone where it can mess with that algorithm, it awards it much faster than they might otherwise be able to slow down and correct for. But, you know, I'm not too surprised because I know that a lot of those track extensions are harsh here, and unfortunately a lot of drivers have been going off just like we're seeing right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam Barker and Dan Herlock on your screen at the moment. These guys are running very, very close. He's closing down 5 seconds, 6 seconds. The gap's going the wrong way for Dan Herlock. Kind of wants to make sure it's going the other way. He has just cleared Eric Monet and Alan Holden. So Herlock did get held up in traffic. And at this moment in time, in front of him, Cam Barker has just cleared Angelidis. And also, I believe that's a back marker of an LMGT3 AM in behind Angelidis at the moment. So both of these men have had to clear traffic. That's why the gap has fluctuated in and around that 5-6 second mark. It was Peter Meyer was the other GT3 that these guys have just cleared. It looks like Tom Herlock's on a little bit of a charge. Barker's trying to get away, and both men have had to come and hit traffic.
Yeah, that's the worst possible time, really, but Barker's cleared the traffic now. That's a hypercar. He's just overtaken. That would be an Angelidis, as you've mentioned. But now Herlock has got to dispose of Angelidis before he can get onto the rear of Barker. He hasn't got a lot of time left. Where are we now? We've got less than 5 minutes to go. 4 laps at most, I would say, for these guys. Has Herlock got anything left in there? It's very touch and go. It's less than 5 seconds, so he might just do it. It could also depend how much fuel they've got on board.
Well, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because this could be a bit of a close one between Herlock and Barker. Personally, I'm not entirely sure they are going to be able to get there. This is CMS Pro Red in Cameron Barker, Smile Power Racing in Dan Herlock. I personally think it's going to be a little bit out of reach here, and all the while they're chasing down the elusive Iceman, whose name you only see, whose car say, but car you never see. Mr. Dan Kirby, 25 seconds out in front, dominating. Hypercar Am Rice, 61 seconds out in front. JT Tammy, 20 seconds. Alexander McQuarrie, 31 seconds out in front. Lots of things that could go wrong. Doesn't seem to be happening to our leaders at the moment. We've got 3.5 minutes to go. Kirby's going to have, I believe, one more here to wrap this one up, and we're going to find out how they get on. Don't worry, ignore the left-hand side timing tower here as well, because I can promise you Goncalves and Chen have not been in the pits for over 2.5 minutes. They are back out on track. So there we go. Give it a little kick, and once again, it produces what it should do. Absolutely amazing. Now it's going to be an interesting fight here. Barker's got a couple of back markers. That's Willem Bank in front and Davidson in front of him. Overton is on your screen at the moment. That is Herlock continuing to fight it out at the same time. Lots of action taking place, and we've only got 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, we've got less than 3 minutes to go, and it looks like Herlock is getting the gap down somewhat. He lost time on the last lap there. It's around about similar to what Barker had posted. But there is Matthew Overton, who was seen on screen. We'll get an update on the lap times for both Barker and Herlock next time around, just to see if Herlock is actually closing down the gap. He is closing down the gap. The question is he closing him down enough? Well, given the amount of time and laps we've got left, Dan Kirby's gone over the line, or he will do in a moment, which will determine how many laps we'll have left. I think we've got 2 more to go, James, the next time Kirby crosses over the line.
Yeah, I can tell you now, Barker's last lap time, 44.831, compared to Dan Herlock's, who was 1/800 slower than Cameron Barker. So no impression there whatsoever from Barker over Herlock at this moment in time. Herlock still continuing to try and chase him down. Cleared a couple of back markers in the process of David Jun, and he's now got Willem Bank further down the road there once again. So Alexander McQuarrie leading the GT3 AM's been a silent ninja all evening long. He's gone about his business in that Aston Martin. Peter Meyer led in the Lexus RCF at one point as well, but currently Alexander McQuarrie has just gone and picked up anybody that wants to come for a ride and has taken a drive round the circuit. Matthew Overton, Ryan Paulbert Reyes, half a second apart at the moment. Hypercars on the outside. Michael Locke, JT Tammy, all continuing to fight as Adrian Rice further up the road. Overton closing in here. 1 minute on the clock to go. Just going to pick up where Dan Kirby is. I think he's on his way through turn 15 before he goes on and runs his final lap. But yeah, stellar race so far here, and a great run from Ryan Paulbert Reyes and Matthew Overton top.
Nicely done as well. It's a nice battle raging on between those two, and Dan Kirby is coming around to start his last lap, 24 seconds ahead in the lead. Barker and Herlock, it's less than 6 seconds, but there's no way Herlock is closing down on Barker now. Second place is sewn up for Barker, and I thought, providing he doesn't trip over any back markers.
Dan Kirby is going to cross the line with about 20 seconds to go. He probably could stop, to be honest, on the start line and then cross it once the time runs out, but he chose not to, as he's still got a 21-second lead here as well. Barker, CMS Pro Red Cadillac V Series, 21 seconds back, and we've got Herlock in back behind that as well. Main screen at the moment, Matthew Overton, Ryan Paulbert Reyes. They're going to go around for one more lap here. There was a flash of a light, so I'm not entirely sure why we're on light flashing all of a sudden. At the end of the day, we're not stood in the park with a coat on. Oh, Paulbert Reyes has gone a little bit deep. Matthew Overton running side by side. That's a hypercar in behind him. I think that might be Barker in behind that. Overton can't get through. He's still stuck there behind Ryan Paulbert Reyes. It was Barker. JT Tammy's coming up on these guys at the same time. Matthew Overton, Paulbert Reyes. Overton does go through side by side at the moment. Now going to be coming back the other way. Paulbert Reyes is almost going to bargy, sidey, on the way down into the left-hander in now. Matthew Overton, there was contact. Both men are continuing on at the moment. Matt Overton, Ryan Paulbert Reyes continuing the fight. Now we're going to have, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, at the same time as Dan Kirby. He's got a couple of more corners left here. Overton's battle's been interrupted. Why? Because that's Dan Herlock trying to come through between him and Ryan Paulbert Reyes. JT Tammy in there at the same time. Dan Kirby now going to come down. He's got, I believe there's one more corner to go before he goes over the line. Dan Kirby, CMS Pro Red, goes over the line. He's going to wrap the win up here at Qatar. Cadillac V Series takes the win. Flash of the lights for Dan Kirby. Great job from him. Now there's more contact between Ryan Paulbert Reyes and Matt Overton. I believe one of them is off the side of the circuit. I think that's Matthew Overton off the side here. We're going to try and have a look. Paulbert Reyes goes off. Oh, there wasn't. Oh, I don't think there was contact. I think there's very, 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 very minimal if there was. But it looks like Matt Overton got out on the curb and lost it all on his own here as well. Adrian Rice is going to come over the line. He's going to wrap up the win in Hypercar AMS. He's not at the moment. He's off the side of the circuit. I'm going to presume he's aware. He has finished. So there you go. JT Tammy over the line in the GT3. Alexander McQuarrie going to come over and wrap this one up at the same time. So a great job from these guys here. Alexander McQuarrie taking the win in the GT3 AMS. Great racing there, Tom, from everybody all the way through.
Yeah, nice racing all around. Just 2 cars retiring from that race. We'll get a replay of that incident involving. Sorry, I lost track of everything.
And Matt Overton.
Yeah, that was the one I was trying to get out of my mouth there. So my brain just went into, blank mode or blankety blank or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, what a race! Absolutely loved it from start to finish. 100 minutes it was, and a well-deserved win for Dan Kirby, heading over the line quite comfortably ahead of Cameron Barker. Well-deserved second place for Barker, has to be said.
Just waiting for a few more to finish that have not finished. Here it is. I don't believe there was contact. I think Overton ran out a little bit wide. Oh, he's the one with the contact, and then goes and puts it into the wall. So it wasn't Paulbert Reyes, it was Overton who made that contact for him. Stephen Miller's just finished. James Walker's just finished. Let's have a look, if we can, at the results here of tonight's race. On your screen very, very shortly. Dan Kirby, there you go, in first place. Cam Barker in second. Dan Herlock in third. Then you've got Magnus Dahlgren, Troy Uyan, Johnny Gutierrez, Mike Bell, Robert Molin, Timon Suvik in ninth. Adrian Rice wrapping up the win in the Hypercar AMS in behind that. So Timon Suvik, Michael Locke, and then Adrian Rice coming over the line. On to the next page. Ben Kesby in 11th, then John Uyan, Gilles Lalonde, and Antonio Paparanopoulos in the Hypercar Pros. In the Hypercar AMS, Adrian Rice is your winner. Vinicius Goncalves in second, then Jerry Chen. Benjamin Poitiers Heath in fourth, then George Angelidis, Eric Monet, Matt Bice, Sean Kelly, and Gwilym Benk rounding out the top 9. Moving on from that one into the GT3 Pros, JT Tammy takes the win with David Jun, Alan Holden, James Walker, your 1, 2, 3, 4. Paulbert Reyes, great battle with Overton at the end. Luciano Acharzo, Max Umferlap. Brian Van Buscombe did not finish. And of course, Mr. Storm Gang Simulation, Ross Smith, did not take to the start. On we go into the next one. Alexander McQuarrie wrapping up the GT3 AMS with Peter Myers, Stephen Miller, and Adam Gray. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4 there in the order. Great job from all of these guys. Excellent racing once again, as we're going to move in and have a chat with some of these guys. We'll just wait for them to come in. Tom, great race here at Qatar. Excellent racing from all of them.
Excellent racing from all of them indeed. And, we've had a few instances with drivers perhaps rejoining into the path of others. We've had others going round as well. We had a brilliant battle in particular involving the likes of Troy Uyan, Gutierrez and Locke. Scintillating stuff from the drivers. And, really nice to see so many make it to the flag.
Yeah, absolutely. Only losing 2 out of a grid of 37. Well, what can you say? You can't moan one iota. Ross, great racing from these guys.
Yeah, we get to see some really interesting driving around a track that's fairly non-traditional in terms of what we see on the rest of the calendar. So, it's provided some great opportunities to see some pretty entertaining battles. We got to see the Toyota really come alive with Benjamin Poitiers Heath and I believe it was Magnus Dahlgren, both of them getting well up in their class and really showing some muscle. We didn't see as much of a detriment to the Cadillacs as we thought we might have with their aero adjustment, and the same thing with the Aston Martins with the way that they gained a little bit of weight for this race. But both cars seeming to perform pretty well and really keeping their competition down. So we'll see how things go for the next one.
Yeah, we're going to start off in the GT3 AMs with Alexander McQuarrie, who's going to come over the line. Your GT3 AM winner. Alex, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Not bad, mate. How was it out there for you? It seemed you had a bit of a battle with Peter Meyer, and then the second half of the race, it was all you, wasn't it?
You know, first of all, this is the first time I'm ever racing here, and I only had to prep last night, so I wasn't sure how today was going to go. But I had to field manage. I field managed, and I didn't pull tires. I mean, that's how I was able to get ahead, because he manages field really well, because he got me last race doing that, and I'm like, all right, the pit strategy this time, you know, I need to work on it. So it worked out for me.
Yeah, it definitely did, and I think that's one of the things that most people here would struggle on with, the whole pit cycle, the pit strategy there as well. Did you commit to your strategy from the very beginning, or was it something that you picked up halfway through?
So halfway through my first tank of gas, I was on full power. Then after I there was like a decent gap. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to start field managing, and I was able to manage the gap. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I ended up managing the whole time.
That you're managing the whole way through. How do you feel about going into next time? You know, we got the 7th of June. It's the 4.8 hours of Le Mans. It's a long old race, that one.
You know, actually, I want to bring up something. Like, I'm super glad I didn't blow my motor. I blew my motor in Detroit. I was in first, so I'm glad that didn't happen. But as for next race, again, new track. So just gonna put it in time and get the laps in and see what I can do.
Okay, Bob. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
You guys, the CMS. I mean, you guys put on a good show. I mean, I share with streams with my friends and everything, and they think it's crazy. They're like, "This is sim racing." I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's real. It feels pretty real." So, and of course, my girl. So, you know, can't forget that. So,
No, definitely don't forget her, mate. Otherwise, there'll be a pillow in the sofa with your name on it.
on the sim rig.
I mean,
I mean,
on the sofa. So, you know, you got to be aware of that one. Alex, thank you so much for joining us there, buddy. We look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Right, next up, we're going to go up in order. JT Tammy in the GT3 Pros wins the race by an exponential amount here. JT, come on. Was it as easy as it looked?
God, no.
Okay, tell us more then, because it looked fairly straightforward for you in the lead of that class.
Yeah, I got a bit lucky. I think Alan had some issues in traffic, so I was able to get a good margin where I could just really focus on my driving, saving tires, saving fuel. So it was that put me in a really good position for the rest of the race, but it's so difficult with some of the traffic around here. There was quite a few close calls that could have been catastrophic for me. I tried to take it as easy as I could and help navigate traffic to help them basically stay out of that situation where they could really risk my race. But even so, it was brutal.
Is that GT3 incidents, JT, or are we talking about...
Hypercars.
There might have been... I was getting there, JT. I was just trying to prep you in slowly. So you didn't just chuck it right in there and go, it's the Hypercars' fault. It's all them. All Hypercars. There was some questionable incidents, you know, questionable rejoins. There was a little bit of questionable overtakes. You know, how do you manage that in a GT3 car?
You try to watch your mirrors as much as possible. You try to place your car in a position where you can be as decisive as possible, so you can make it quite clear, hey, this is where I'm going to be, this is where I'm going, that sort of thing. You want to be as predictable as possible, and I try the best I can do that, but you're still going to get a couple characters. It's, for whatever reason, they say, hey, I need to dive bomb this guy because it's important I get ahead of him immediately, even though he's just going to plow through the corner and lose a bunch of time there and then on the exit. Whereas had he just, planned accordingly, checked up before and got the exit, he'd lose a lot less time, he'd save his tires, and he would substantially reduce the risk involved. But they tend not to learn.
I don't think that's just hypercar drivers, to be honest with you, JT. I think that comes across the board in loads of different sims, in loads of different series, in multi-class in general. But, look, me and you could be here all day bitching about this, son, because it does drive me bonkers as well. Why they can't just wait and have patience. But listen, next one out, though, JT, we're going on to the big one. 4.8 hours of Le Mans. Are you solo?
I have no idea. I assume it's supposed to be a team race.
You can change drivers, if I'm not mistaken. Ross, come in here. Where are you, Ross? Is he here?
I'm right here. Yes, it is a team race. You have to drive with your teammate unless they are not available.
Yeah. I mean, we had a couple drivers do solo stints. They were supposed to have like a minor penalty in terms of like the time loss that would reduce for the driver swap, but it ended up not being a thing last year. So hopefully that's looked at and everybody will have a teammate. And yeah, it's I think with James and Matt, we're pretty good at trying to stay out of trouble, trying to stay consistent and on track. So hopefully we'll be able to do very well at Le Mans.
Okay, bud. Well, listen, dude, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
About the same guys, you guys, the Storm Game Simulation, everybody involved, stewards, everyone who's able to, put this, the Saturday race together for us, because it's a ton of fun. We enjoy it a lot, and it takes a lot of work behind the scenes, and that's a lot of people putting in, time and effort with possibly not much reward for it, and it's without them we can't have these great weekends.
All right, man. Well, excellent stuff. JT, thank you so much there, buddy. Look forward to seeing you next time out.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, then we're going up to Hypercar AMS. We're going to have a chat with another man that took the win by quite a long distance here in the order of Adrian Rice. So Adrian, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. How was it out there?
Hectic for quite a lot of it. I mean, a lot of traffic, and there was some pretty serious fighting going on in that sort of bottom of the top 10, top 15 area. So it was a good, entertaining race from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, and then you managed to kind of escape away from it all at the same time. Listen, we've just had JT say that there were some questionable moments with hypercars. Does the hypercars say that there were some questionable moments with GT cars?
From my point of view, most of the GT cars seem to be pretty aware this time, and I didn't personally see any hypercars doing anything silly, but that doesn't mean that they don't. I mean, I think for some reason, we all talk about it, we all fight about it, we all decide this is what we're going to do, and then the next race happens and it's just back to exactly the same thing. I just think that's multi-class racing, and no one seems to be able to change it, but I didn't see anything particularly bad from my position anyway.
All right, mate. Quick question for you. As you're kind of not in a team in the Hypercar AMS, what's happening with you at Le Mans? 4.8 hours. Are you driving solo?
That's probably the plan at the moment. I did it last year, so I'll give it a go this year again and see if I can hold up. I got to the end of it last year and I was pretty sore about it, but this we'll just have to see how we go.
Okay, man. Well, I look forward to seeing how that one works out for you. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, bud?
No, just all you guys and the people who put the mod together, Ross and George and all involved. Put us all out there. It's what they put a lot of effort in, and they also get a lot of stick from people who don't seem to appreciate it as much as they should. So, just good on them for continuing to do it, and it's good fun. I've sort of had to decide to give it up these ones because, like, for me, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I've been up since 1 o'clock, so it's sort of getting a bit hard to continue doing it. So I'll miss it a bit, but I'll still do the daytime races when I can.
Yeah, I know you feel, bud. The early mornings don't do anybody any favors. But listen, Adrian, thank you so much, bud, and well done and congratulations.
No worries, thank you.
Take care. Right, next up, we're going to have a chat with your Hypercar Pro winner, Mr. Dan Kirby. He took the win again. by about 21 seconds going into the last half of the race. Dan, how are you? Congratulations and well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. That was super fun. Good but tired. That was really exhausting.
Exhausting? You didn't do nothing over the second half of the race, did you?
Wow.
Well, you cannot.
You went to one. What more do you want, Dan?
You just cannot rest for a second. Managing traffic and everything. I almost got wiped out in the last lap by a back marker. It's never over till it's over.
I know what you're saying, and I'm just pulling your chain, mate. I'm sure it was really tough out there as well. But I think for me, when you see somebody like you out in front, you kind of don't have any worries about it. The incident that we did see with Benjamin Porteous Heath, what was your opinion of that? Because it did look like Ben, unfortunately, was a little bit out of control at that point. You're going to need me to remind you, aren't you?
I don't remember exactly.
You're going to, yeah, I thought
happened.
you might. He basically slid out, come back into the middle of the track, and gave you a bit of scare of your life.
Oh. Yeah.
No?
I think I remember that, but I don't remember it being a big problem. I think I just left him room over there in case he did come back on.
Okay, mate. Well, well done, Dan, as well. Going into the 4.8 hours of Le Mans in the modern. Are you all set for that one?
Not quite yet. I don't think I've done very much practice yet, so I'll have to get on that soon. But yeah, it should be fun. I really like Le Mans.
Okay, bud. Well done on your victory, Dan, as well. Congratulations. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to our stewards team for all the work they put in. Not very many people appreciate it, but I think some people do. So there was a lot of work that went into reviewing penalties for this race. So
there's going to be a lot more, Dan, as well, buddy. They're gonna have to do a lot more reviewing. Let's just put it that way. There were some questionable moments as well. But Dan, listen, dude, pleasure as always to have a chat with you, mate. So well done. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, bud.
You too.
Well, there you go, Tom. Another race done and dusted here as well. And another exciting evening of racing has passed us by.
Absolutely. The drivers who have won their classes seem to be rather relaxed about what they've done there. They have been racing for the best part of 2 hours nearly. But no, it's on to the next round of the championship. It should be a really fun one as well. And I'm sure they'll be relishing the opportunity and getting some practice in time.
Yeah, Ross, final words from you.
Yeah, just another entertaining race for the season, and it's really setting things up as we head into Le Mans. Just a quick note on that. Any penalties that have been observed from this one will actually move to the race after. So Le Mans should be unadulterated, though anybody who goes solo will probably have to do some kind of drive-through to even out the field. But every kind of double or triple driver team, you're going to see them pile into the same car, and they're going to take on the 4.8 hours as a 2 or 3 person team for the most part up and down the grid. So looking forward to that one. It's going to be great.
Yeah, well, that's going to wrap it up, guys, as well. Thank you so much to everybody that's joined us here throughout the evening. Mr. Reese's Ease, as always, Kim D. Woos 888 as well. Thank you so much. I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Tom Cairns and Mr. Ross Smith. And of course, we've had production from Mr. Paul Glover. But as always, and for now, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.